they are no show when needed to debate in the National Assembly. Speaking in Kakamega County, Ruto said that he wants to take a bill in Parliament to iron out the hurdles in the sugar sector, and that the members of Parliament who are opposing his proposals were no show in the National Assembly.
Viongozi wengine wanakuja wanaongelesha raia mambo ya hewa ya bure. Mtu anakuja hapa anasema hapana, unajua sasa kampuni yetu inataka kuuzwa, kampuni yetu inataka kuuzwa. Acha niwaambie nikiwa kanisani, hakuna kampuni ya sukari itauziwa mtu. There will be no sale of any sugar factory.
The president further promised that his government is committed to streamline the sugar sector in Kenya and ensure that it starts yielding colossal profits.
Taweka pesa bilioni 3 kwa hizi makampuni zetu ya cane development kusaidia wakulima kuzalisha sasa miwa, ndio tuweze kupata sukari ya kutosha. Tuache kuagiza sukari kutoka Brazil, sijui Egypt, sijui wapi. Hawa wakulima wetu watuzalishie sukari, tununue sukari ya Kenya, tuache kuagiza sukari kutoka nje.
Now, Orange Democratic Movement Party leader Raila Odinga has trashed the High Court's ruling that ordered the reconstitution of the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission to continue without the recommendation of the Nakuru report, which is before Parliament. Odinga termed Justice Mugure Thande's February 1st ruling as hogwash.
Nimesikia juzi mahakama moja anasema ati ile kamati ya mbele huko ya kuteua wale wanachama wa IBC ataendelee kufanya kazi yake. Nasema hiyo ni upuzi. Ile kamati haiwezi kufanya kazi, manake ilikuwa tayari imevunjwa na bunge.
The court ordered that the Nelson Makanda-led selection panel should start the recruitment of commissioners to the electoral body immediately. Odinga insisted that the formation of the new IEBC would only continue after the passage of the NADCO report in Parliament.
Sasa hii report ya kina Wandai na Kalonzo ikienda mbele ya bunge ipitishwe, ndio tutaanza mambo ya IEBC. Walikubaliana ya kwamba mambo ya kuunda upya ya tume ya uchaguzi mpaka tushirikishwe, mpaka tukubaliane na majina yote.
Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna has asked President William Ruto to sack Energy Cabinet Secretary Davis Chirchir and Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority Director General Daniel Kipto over the gas explosion at the illegal liquefied petroleum gas plant in Embakasi that killed 3 people. Sifuna castigated the agents from the Directorate of Criminal Investigations for the private security guard manning the Embakasi gas outlet, yet the culpable individuals were enjoying freedom. He added that they want to see Chirchir and top officials sent back. A government spokesperson confirmed 3 deaths of the tragic incident, with over 280 people admitted in hospitals across the city with injuries of varying degrees. The death toll has since increased to around 7. Sifuna further stating that Kenyans are not opposed to the construction of the affordable houses. They only demand that they be included in decision making.
Kuna mradi mkubwa sana wa ujenzi wa nyumba, kwa sababu all the old council estates baba, almost 13 of them across these constituencies, kutokea Kibira mpaka huku Makadara na kwingineko, wanasema wanaenda kubomoa nyumba zile watu wanaishi ndani, wajenge nyumba zingine. Vile baba mwenyewe amesema, sisi hatupingi ujenzi wa nyumba. Tunasema wananchi lazima washirikishwe katika huo mpango ndio waelewe nini kinaendelea, si ndio?
Meanwhile, Embakasi MP Babu Winners opposed the government's directive that school fees be paid through eCitizen, stating that it will be difficult for some parents to pay school fees through other means like supplying goods and services to their schools.
Ruto mwenyewe anatuambia vizuri ya kwamba watoto wazazi walipe school fees na eCitizen. Kama saizi ndio wazazi wanapeleka kuni shuleni walipe nayo school fee, wanapeleka kuku ndio walipe nayo school fee, wanapeleka ng'ombe ndio walipe nayo school fee, wazazi watatumaje kule eCitizen?
This is Newswire. Dennis Aseta, good morning.
.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
You tune into Kenya's biggest conversation. My name is Ramanya.
Amen.
So 1 hour is over?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It gets over
Can you imagine
in 20 minutes.
what the big boys have also done?
I'm very proud of myself.
When you understand about partnership in politics, it's like the way marriage is these days. When you're looking for a wife, you're like, oh, you know, maybe you can help me pay for fees as I pay for the rent.
Why should you have a lioness living in your bedroom?
I have to tell you a story. I went for a prayer meeting which was called for the spouses of candidates for senators and governors. And when I got to the gate, the lady who was the secretary, she refused to. She's telling me, no. Leo tunataka wa mama. Leo ni wa mama. I'm telling her, no. She said, no, sio siku yenu. And I thought, there's a problem here, because if it was a man, but this was a lady.
It will be called First Ladies until you change the name.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you very much, Eric, and it's good to be at the Situation Room.
Always a pleasure coming here. This is the most challenging interview panel in Kenya. You guys are very well informed, and as you can see, Charles today very philosophical.
To be poor in this country is the greatest sin you can commit, not just from a legal perspective, but from life generally. It is very, very skewed.
We've just heard on the floor of parliament, just most recently, a leader within the ODM saying that Sisi ni ng'ombe is a baba.
Yeah.
Which means that you are willing to be milked dry.
You cannot force me to believe. I'll give way. If it's land that I'm told to return to you, I will. Okay? Because the court has said so. But I'll continue saying, watu wamenirusha. That's what I'm doing.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Good morning and welcome to Monday. What does it look like on these streets this morning? Not much coming off Thika Superhighway. We'll probably see that build up as we get closer into through towards traffic hour. Free flowing on Limuru Road as well as Kambu Road. Coming out of Westlands also into the CBD will be fine. For now, Jogo Road is also not packing up just yet. Uhuru Highway looks good all the way. Mombasa Road out towards the Nyayo Stadium roundabout through towards Haile Selassie at the junction into the CBD and then out towards Westlands. An early start for most things this morning at a few minutes after 6. Let's see what happens as we get into it. We'll talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Yes, good morning and how are you doing? It's the 5th day of February already. Hey. Siku zinasonga.
February needs to teach January.
Sindio? What? How was your weekend?
It was alright. Yeah.
Nigeria did the thing.
Yes, we did. A semi-final in the bag.
We did,
Yes. Proper.
Iko pale ndani. Semi-finale.
Let's see.
Iko ndani. Very good. Next up,
South Africa on Wednesday. Let's see what happens as Cote d'Ivoire plays DRC.
Any Cote d'Ivoire just survived like that.
How would it look if the host country, so also for the organizers, right? I'm not saying anything, but I'm saying for the organizers, how would it look if the host country then was, and that's where you get 90% of your fans. then the host country was out at the semi-final stage. How would you fill your stadium?
It has happened.
So it happens all the time.
I remember World Cup, which was held in Brazil. They were bundled out quick, early. Remember?
Yeah, sure.
Kwanza they were chapwa 8 by Germany.
Yeah. Clean.
At home. To survive.
And people came to watch. They didn't stop coming to watch.
Hey, but that one was an embarrassment.
Big time.
Wait. Kwanza, you know, it being Brazil.
It's Brazil, boy.
Surely. Aye. And Pele was alive.
Imagine.
Hey, no. That was a bad one. That was a bad one. And you, City, how was your weekend?
Quiet.
You did the quiet things.
The usual quiet things, yes.
Very good.
I was invited for a birthday party.
Oh, really?
And yes.
Like with clowns and musical chairs?
No, actually, no. It was Irungu Houghton's birthday party on Saturday. And in my mind, it was Sunday.
The party was Sunday?
It was Saturday. Then come Sunday, I'm looking at my mail and I realize, this thing was yesterday. Now to apologize.
So you didn't go?
I didn't go, but it was Sunday.
Oh.
You know how you read an invite and you know Sunday. So you book Sunday.
But the guy is your neighbor there. You didn't hear kalele from the neighborhood? That's normal. With the Rongo Houghton, that's normal.
Anyway, I apologize profusely.
Oh, Paul sana kwake.
Profusely.
We also apologize on your behalf. We can explain. Irongo, we know. We can explain. Next year, invite him. He wouldn't miss the day. Okay. So let me tell you.
Are you?
Me, I am
How
good.
was your weekend?
Quiet as well. Quiet. You know those weekends where Saturday, Sunday, indoors. And I mean indoors. Like proper indoors.
That's how you recharge, Chief.
No, get out to go where? Indoors.
To see who?
To do what? Yeah? That was the kind of weekend that I had. 7 a.m. we'll be joined by Abdullahi Alas, Executive Director of Elite Crew Consulting Limited. Our man will be joining us today. Kenya Kwanza policies versus the citizen. Just looking at what's happening across the country. He will be here with us. At 8 a.m. we'll be joined by the Ambassador of the Federal Republic of Germany to Kenya, His Excellency Sebastian Groth. Kenya-German cooperation on climate change. That's a conversation we'll be having at 8 a.m. with the Ambassador of Germany to Kenya. Hiyo yote ni maendeleo. It's a sad morning though for us as a community and society and the family of the Situation Room. Normally at a time like this, I'd have a message from a guy called Kaiser Obed. He would always write something. Good morning, Umugambi. Wakire. Salimia hawa Dosi na Edna. Tuned in, as usual. Good morning. Hope you had a good weekend. Mark me present. Salimia team. Today, going forward, we will not receive such messages. Because unfortunately, Kaiser Obed passed away over the weekend. A very, very, very tight listener and always a listener and part of the family of the Situation Room has left us. We always called him the future governor of Nyamira County. Yeah. Unfortunately, he passed away after a short illness over the weekend. May he rest in peace. So, as we go ahead and do the roll call this morning, please remember Kaiser Obed and say a prayer for him. It is 6:15. Ndu, tell us about the weather.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's 17 degrees and partly cloudy in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 25 and lows of 16. We'll see lows of 14 in a mostly cloudy Nakuru, going to highs of 26. And it's 14 and clear in Nyeri. We'll see lows of 12 and highs of 25. In Eldoret, it's 13 degrees and cloudy, highs of 24 and lows of 12, partly cloudy at 26 in Mombasa with highs of 32, and we'll see highs of 33 in a mostly clear Malindi, currently at 27. All right, into Kisumu, it's clear at 20 with highs of 29, and Kakamega will see highs of 30, where it's partly cloudy at 18. In Kampala this morning, it's cloudy. We'll see highs of 28 and lows of 17, while Dar es Salaam is clear at 27. We'll see highs of 32 and lows of 27. Johannesburg is cloudy this morning at 15 with highs of 29, and Mogadishu is sunny at 26 already with highs of 32. 24 will be the high, and mostly cloudy at 12. Lagos is hazy at 25 with highs of 35, and Kinshasa is cloudy at 25, going to highs of 31. It's 2 degrees and sunny Monday afternoon in Beijing. We'll see highs of 5 and lows of -4, while it's cloudy in Paris at 9. We'll see highs of 10. London is cloudy at 10 with highs of 13, and Sunday night is clear at 4 degrees in New York. Coming into Monday, we'll see highs of 8 and lows of -1.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
All right.
94.4.
Chris Adede says, good morning, Spice. Utawala is locked. So good morning to you, Chris. Sebit Yusuf, a very good morning. Edna Ndusiti and Eric from the United Arab Emirates, wishing you a great week. Desmond is tuned in, says, good morning, Princess Ndu. Well, good morning. And 2 handsome boys. Uhanya Beach is locked, he says. Corruption is still nodding his head on and off in the bursary offices, isn't it? Don Sabo says, good morning. Eric Charles Ndu Edna, good morning. Can we have Senator Sifuna? Also, condolences to the people of Namibia at 82. President bowed. Kenya's public debt has hit an alarming rate of 11 trillion. Oh, lolo. Evans Ntabo says, Bwakire Emambia Nginya. Okay, that's not Kiswahili.
It is Kikisi.
Yeah, I figured as much. Emambia Ngia. What does that mean?
It is.
Have I butchered the language?
Oh, yes, you have.
I'm so sorry.
I don't understand the language, but evidently.
Clearly.
It's clear you massacred it.
Jacinta Wamboi says, good morning. Tuning from a rainy and windy San Francisco. The weather's nasty. I hear a friend who told me the same thing yesterday. You guys are really getting it. Rain in San Francisco is not...
Kinoaramba?
Not right now. Actually, it shouldn't be at this time. But
What?
California is getting a hit.
What?
Patrick Musembe says, good morning, Spice Trio. Tuning from Monrovia, where my sister lives. Hapa Tukosawa. One Mike says, good morning, Situation Room, tuning from Baltimore and Maryland. Happy week all. Jimmy Wekesa says, good morning. Good morning, Spice FM, tuning in from Somalia. Looking forward to an elevated conversation, inshallah. Good morning from Dubai. Baridi Mingi. Now, when you say it's cold in Dubai, I need to understand. What are we talking about in terms of degrees here?
Well,
please explain
cold.
it to me so that I can understand. When you say cold, it's like 30 degrees.
It's freezing.
Okay. Robinson Kisero says, good morning. I'm looking forward to discussions this morning. And Josegi says, good morning from Kubu, Meru County. Joel Odondi is tuned in from Kansas. Chris Oluoch says, good morning. Tom Moffat says, locked in from Gong. It's so sad to see this country is ruled by a one-person mind. Allah. Okay. Patrick's tuning from Nakuru. Frederick Oremo is tuned in, says, getting you loud and clear. Yes, indeed, Saturday we lost one of our number one fans. May the soul of Kaiser Obed rest in peace. Amen. Chamge, my beautiful people, tuned in from the beautiful hills of Saboti and Trans Nzoia. That's Ann Gore. She says, good morning. John Jokahato says, good morning from Kangemi. Real Karaoke is tuned in from London, Ontario, and London. King Dave says, may he rest in power. Indeed, may he. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be connected with you all from Kuwait. Geraldine Ocheng is tuned in. I see everybody tuned in, giving their condolences this morning. Al Coy is tuned, and Jane Kinaro, Wawero Karaoke, David Abwora, Dev watching from Utawala. Good morning, everybody. Karibu.
Indeed, indeed. City, where to?
You know, I had determined to go to Angola, and I am in Angola. But then when I learned of the passing away of the Namibian president, I thought, in honor of this man who's been a great friend of this country, at least the proverb for today should come from Namibia.
That's a good one.
Yes.
For today or for this week?
Yes, today.
Make it the whole week.
You want me to make it the whole week?
Yeah.
Might as well.
Yeah.
All right.
Uh-huh.
A hunter in pursuit of an elephant does not stop to throw stones at birds.
A hunter in pursuit of an elephant does not stop to throw stones at birds. Focus on the mission.
Yep.
Okay. But if the birds are alerting the elephant of his presence, then it's important that the hunter deals with that.
You know, it's interesting. Have you heard of stories where elephants are fleeing from a hunter?
It's interesting. No.
I was thinking about it the other day. I have never heard. Elephants will look at you, flap their ears, and charge.
Well, I don't know. I haven't heard the stories of poachers. I don't know. Maybe they do. One gunshot that misses the ear and then the thing starts running away.
Possible. Possible. But with wild animals, it's interesting. You may think it's running away, kumbe it's circling you.
Higher. We only have one paper.
Let's do with what we have for now. Okay?
Mm.
On the front page of the Standard, on graft, Ruto is more bark than bite. Oh, lolo. Guys, I started this morning proper. Yeah? What? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
President William Ruto's tough talk on corruption seems to be just that, talk. Going by the latest survey of the talk the talk is empty as Kenya dropped its ranking on corruption fight, doing worse than the global average and showing little effort to tame the scourge on the continent. Okay, so let's look at the numbers in a bit. Ryan on IEBC, we are ready for the streets. There's nothing. He said, look, those things, you are not hiring IEBC commissioners. Okay. Cape Verde eliminates malaria. That is going to be very interesting to look at and how they did it.
Eliminates malaria.
Big deal, yes.
What?
Something to do with the very last case of malaria ever and then having then been cured. We look at that story, but it's quite a big one. Tension as CBK meets on interest. Okay. Well, let's look at that. The 4th anniversary of the passing of former President Daniel Arap Moi was commemorated over the weekend, and 4 years later, Moi's influence is still being felt, is what that headline says.
Right.
Fallen Namibia leader was a true friend of Kenya, is another headline. TSC seeks more powers to rule over teachers. They feel like, you know what, we are the commission, but we don't have a say-so in what they actually do and how they operate. We want one.
They want more powers to rule over teachers.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's what the headlines say. There are many stories to look into and see what is happening.
Okay.
Oh, while we're at it, Ahmed Nasir's firm sues the Supreme Court judges over ban on
while we're at it,
and says, oh, you thought I was quiet, did you? Taking you to court.
Hi, Abasi. Let's look at one of the stories.
Okay, let's
we have
do
time.
It. Yes, okay. All right. So, 31 is the score that Kenya got on the Transparency International survey on how countries are fighting corruption. 34 is Africa's average score in the war against scourge. The global average is 43.
Okay. 34 out of what?
Okay, I'll tell you in a minute. The report paints a gloomy picture on the status of corruption in Kenya after declining from a score of 32 in 2022 to 31 out of 100. Voila. And with the country being ranked 126 out of the 180 countries and territories. So that's your number. It's out of 100. And so we're looking at Africa. It's out of 100. I don't know why, because we don't have 100 countries in Africa. But okay. But then we're looking at a global ranking of 126 out of 180. So if we look at the details of that into this story so we can understand it a little bit more. President William Ruto's commitment to eradicate corruption seems to be remain powerful in words and not deeds, according to the latest report by Transparency International. The report was released in January on the 30th, and it revealed that most countries, including Kenya, have made little to no progress in tackling corruption in more than a decade, amidst weakening justice systems across the world that continue to leave corruption unchecked. So Kenya's not swimming in unfamiliar waters, or rather not swimming alone. The 2023 edition of the Corruption Perceptions Index ranked 120 countries and territories by their perceived levels of public sector corruption, drawing on 13 expert assessments and surveys of business executives. The report says Denmark, Finland, and New Zealand topped the index. So this is where you want to top it. So when you top the index, it means that your corruption levels are the lowest. Okay. And they topped it with 90, 87, and 85 points respectively, while Somalia, Venezuela, Syria, and South Sudan fell at the bottom with scores of 11, 13, and 13 respectively. More than two.
There's corruption in Somalia?
Apparently. Yeah.
Really?
Also, if we don't like you, we have to paint you a certain color, right? Think about that.
Or how were they able to actually check the scores in Somalia?
I'll tell you in a minute.
Okay.
More than 2/3 of the country scored below 50 out of 100. The report paints a gloomy picture, blah, blah, blah. It talks about Kenya now being 126 out of these 180 were assessed. How does it talk about... Kenya's score, 31 points, fell below the sub-Saharan average of 33 and the global average score of 43. A score below 50 indicates serious levels of public sector corruption. So if you fall below 50, then my goodness, you're not doing well at all. The corruption watchdog showed that Rwanda topped the East African region with 53 points compared to 51 points in 2022. Tanzania scores 40 from 38. Uganda maintained a score of 26, and Burundi has 20 from 17 points in CPI 2022. Countries that scored above the global average from the sub-Saharan Africa region included Seychelles, Cabo Verde, Botswana, Rwanda, Mauritius, Namibia, Sao Tome and Principe, and that was according to the report, right?
So I want to see where Ruto's fight is losing steam first.
Yeah.
It's because what? Because in 2022 our score was...
So this is the thing, that they're looking at
32,
the numbers and how
and now we are at 33. What are we saying? Kenya declined from a score of 32 in 2022 to 31 in 2023. Okay, so that is losing steam.
Yeah.
Okay.
The increased perceived levels of public sector corruption, according to the report, are attributed to a lack of successful prosecutions in graft cases witnessed in the recent past, with a number of cases either dragged inordinately, withdrawn from the prosecution, or resulted in acquittals with no publicly known efforts to review the withdrawn cases or appeal the cases lost. According to the report, one glaring example is the bungled 63 billion Aror Kim-Warer dam graft case, which is among the several mismanaged cases that are seemingly part of a broader pattern of controversies that have plagued the office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. And they say such controversial collapse of cases has eroded public confidence in the ODPP's ability to uphold the rule of law and tame corruption. So they go on to talk about things like this. They also talk about budgeted graft, which is something we've talked about as well quite often. They say that in the last financial year, the COB has released a National Government Budget Implementation Review report for the first 9 months of the financial year. And in the report, she revealed that 300 plus billion was processed as salaries through the integrated personnel and payroll database and other approved systems, but that it did not correlate to money that is actually being paid. Now, according to this report, some of these things then are now lending to the overall picture.
That's why we are dropping a point.
Painted.
Okay. Okay. Well, as City has said many times, this corruption is a story in Kenya. It appears to be just a buzzword. Oh, we shall fight corruption. Oh, we shall... Oh, we have an anti-corruption commission. Oh, we are committed. We have laws. It's 6:30. Let's take this break first and look at traffic. Okay? Tell us what's happening on the roads.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right, at 6:30 on the nose, what are we looking at coming off of different streets this morning? Actually, not so bad. It looks like we're probably getting a late rise to Monday morning. Some traffic coming off the thicker superhighway as you approach the GSU headquarters. That's going to pack up a little bit. And then you get past that junction and then you're fine until you get just past Survey and then towards the Pangani underpass. It's still looking pretty good on Kiambu Road. So if you've not left, now might be the time to do so because we know that is going to pack up as well. All right, coming off of Wayaki Way traffic as well. Kiambu Road is also doing the thing. And Jogo Road, some traffic right around the Makadara train station. Apart from that, I think we'll be able to see free flow of traffic, at least for now. Keeping an eye on things this morning. You're going to help us do it. Please do. Let's talk on SpiceFM, KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Hiya. There's a war between the Teacher Service Commission and the Ministry of Education. The TSC is proposing amendments to its governing law that would expand its powers, igniting a tug of war with the Ministry of Education. Amending the Teacher Service Commission Act will give TSC more regulatory powers over teachers and control over their continuous professional development. In the performance of its functions and the exercise of its powers, the Commission shall have power to review any of its decisions on its own motion and regulate its own practice and procedure. This directly contradicts recommendations made by the Presidential Working Party on Education Reforms, which called for stripping the TSC of these responsibilities and creating a new body called the Kenya Professional Teaching Standards to handle them. The proposal could fracture the relationship with the ministry. TSC's mandate, if these amendments are adopted, would expand to ensuring professional teaching standards. However, TSC's push would lead to duplication of duties should the amendment to the law get a green light and the proposal by the Presidential Working Party also sail through. Last week, the TSC CEO, Nancy Macharia, called on the public to submit their input on the proposed change in law. In the notice seen by the Standard, Dr. Macharia said the changes are necessary to align the law with the relevant national policy and legislative changes that have taken place since enactment 12 years ago. Do you understand what this story is saying?
No. I just heard two things.
Yeah.
Duplication of roles and something else. That's what I've understood.
We're being taken for a ride here.
It's like TSC is saying they want to be in control of continuous professional development CPDs for teachers. Who's in charge of them?
And who's preventing them? You know, the
law. Right now it's under the ministry.
Yes. You see, those who crafted these institutions and crafted them in the way that they did, who set up an independent commission to run the affairs of the teachers, understood why they were doing it. Okay? Are we saying that it is time to look and determine a different path? Must it be a fight? Can it not be a discussion?
Looks like it's a fight because at some point somebody may have played a game. If you think about it, so this commission that has the responsibility of recruiting and promoting teachers.
Deploying.
Yeah? Recruiting, deploying, and promoting teachers. Should it have a responsibility over their continuous professional development?
Yes. They should.
So why does the ministry do it?
Because the ministry is the overall supervisor. GSC doesn't supervise. Once they have deployed and done their thing, the people who now ensure that they inspect, they determine, they ensure curriculum does the thing, ministry. So if it is ministry who's in charge of curriculum in terms of whatever it is that goes on in the learning center, which is a school, then they have their say. But you see, the argument here is, should the TSC now also be given the mandate to do something else? And I'm saying yes.
So TSC, this is the thing, essentially, as the commission, they hire teachers, right?
Yeah.
what they're saying that they want to be able to do some more. You can't hire teachers, but in terms of their, and then they're also then be blamed for their wherewithal, where then you're not involved in how they operate during the length of their, their work. TSC is asking for a little bit more in terms of how the operations go along. And that why should they hire them? You found that they're qualified, you give them the job, and then you hand over the operations and administration of the same person to the ministry.
Yes, you do. You see, if that particular process has outlived its usefulness, then the discussion about it having outlived its usefulness is what needs to be had. And to understand why it was, first of all, initiated in the manner that it was. Remember, when these things began, the ministry had a pension scheme for their teachers. Ministry, not TSC. Okay? It served a purpose. All this superannuated and super whatever it is.
Superannuation.
Yes.
I was wondering.
All these things hadn't quite come into play. The discussion in my mind ought to be, can we relook at the roles, the complementary roles that these two institutions have? It doesn't have to be a fight.
It doesn't have to be. And I think, in my mind, the roles are clear. One is a human resource function. The other one is a policy implementation function.
Yes.
So all matters that touch on human resource, be it development, be it management of payroll, be it planning, future planning in terms of the staff complement and all, should be with the commission. All those things. Then if it comes to quality of the education that's being delivered, now that's where the ministry can come in and say this and the other. But why would the ministry be the one that says...
Let me ask the question. Where's the money?
The money?
Who's the custodian of the money that comes to the Ministry of Education?
Which money? Money for what?
Money for education. All of it.
Excuse me.
Bless you, bless you, bless you.
The ministry, one would assume.
Yes. And who gives the TSC? Who pays salaries for teachers?
TSC.
Who gives them the money? Is it part of the budget that the Ministry of Education gets? It is.
Yes.
Okay. You see, I was thinking, as we were talking, that I'm looking at the many parastatals we have in this country and the roles that they play and the parent ministries to which they belong. They're not commissions, they're not independent commissions, they're parastatals. They're part and parcel of those ministries. But they're set up to do, the functions are clear. So are we looking at a debate or a discussion about functions, or are we looking at people who head these ministries having personal differences about who should wear the bigger shoe or who should wear the bigger trouser? What are we looking at? And how does this relate to the welfare of the teachers and the students? All this. By the time we come to the end of this discussion, will the teachers' welfare be better? Will students be learning better? Will facilities be increased? What is this thing that is going to happen at the end of this discussion? Because if none of these things are going to take place, then this thing should cease forthwith.
That's true. I do think that there is fighting. I think there's fighting amongst, and here I think we're looking at possible fight between certain individuals that we may not be privy to right now. Because like you said, it just makes sense that when we're talking about the quality of education and when we're talking about standards then being upheld, then it's evident that should come from the ministry, because you already have the infrastructure and the DNA for that. But then how do you then take the function of the administration or the operation of teachers away from the folks who hired them in the first place? I think those things you should leave with the commission. And I think things like quality assurance and assessment, and then, just making sure that the overall structure of education is healthy and progressive, I think that remains with the ministry. And I think that if they applied some logic to this and removed the elements of just individualism, then it would be clear that you can actually do it without, ruffling feathers or, setting up a dust storm, which is unnecessary. I think this is unnecessary, and it just requires some talking, application of logic, and then voila, we keep it moving. I think that's what needs to happen.
There's also something, Presidential Working Party on Education Reforms had proposed this thing called Kenya Professional Teaching Standards.
Yes.
As a new, completely new body.
What is it supposed to do?
Now to look at the teaching standards.
Meaning what?
This thing that the TSC is trying to amend to that it can
stay with them.
Right? So the Kenya Professional Standards.
Start again.
Kenya Professional Teaching Standards team is supposed to be the one that looks at career development, progression, the curriculum of the teacher training institutions and such and so on and so forth. You see? So they manage the teacher training institutions, where there was also going to be the establishment of the Kenya School of Teacher and Education Management, KESTEM, to coordinate professional training of teachers, and the entity to be under the Ministry of Education. According to the Working Party, KESTEM will take over and offer continuous professional development in the following teaching training colleges: Kigari, Shanzu, Garissa, Asumbi, Muranga, Mosoriot, Narok, and Machakos. And what could spell doom for teachers facing disciplinary action? TSC is seeking powers to take action on matter relating to the character and conduct of a person. That's a different story altogether. But there are too many things that are happening in the education sector. We are tinkering with too many things at the same time.
You have actually gotten the heart of the matter. Why are we tinkering with this thing so much? We are being kept busy. Okay? I mean,
as more and more students score E.
Yes, we are being kept busy. Because, in all honesty, let me ask the question again. How exactly are these discussions or these disagreements or these fights, as we're being told, going to improve the lot of the teachers?
Yeah. They're not.
How exactly is it going to improve the process of education, and how are the students going to benefit from all this?
I think your attention is being diverted from the things that are not happening that ought to happen. Again, when we talk about the quality of education in the country at the time, it's been deteriorating for a very long time.
Yep.
And then now here we want to say, okay, how about you look at this bright shiny thing over here that the Working Party has developed. Let's look over here and talk about it for the next 6 months. Meanwhile, we're not paying attention to what actually should be done. Should the quality of care that's applied to teachers be looked at regularly? Absolutely. At the same time, we should also focus on the quality of education from a macro perspective that has not been looked at over years, and the ministry is responsible for that. Can everybody look? I'm sure if everybody did what they were supposed to do, with the measure that they were supposed to do it consistently, we would not have all this nonsense that we're looking at, because that's what it is. It's nonsense.
Too many stories. City, forget about them. You tell us a story.
Thank you so much. Well, we have to start with bang in the middle of the paper.
All right.
Okay. Right. On graft, Ruto is more bark than bite.
We did that story.
I know.
Okay.
Is
so you just want us to read it again? Okay, it's still bang in the middle of the paper.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to start with the middle of the paper. then you move the side. Okay. Surely.
Sorry.
That's be a starting point. Do you agree? Or are we going to get into a fight?
No, we're not.
It's okay. 4 years later, Moi's influence is still being felt. We have on many occasions discussed in this studio how it is that when a president in this particular country vacates office, suddenly they become some of the most popular people you can think of.
Yeah.
Okay? When they pass away, the popularity goes even higher.
Yes.
But the thing that I find is often lacking in the discussions about our presidents is we discuss two extremes. There are those who favor the president, who will shower praises and nothing else but praises. There are those who will demonize that individual to smithereens. Okay? But should then, we are on our fifth president?
Yeah.
Okay. Should we then not also develop a culture of actually examining the reality of the presidents that we've had and why it is that Kenya is exactly where it is? Because we remember the anniversary of... Because the week before that, we were remembering the passing away of Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. He was not a president, but a luminary and a great leader of this country. And there are others. Now, what exactly has the leadership of the leaders who've gone before, what is it that they've actually contributed to the country in terms of where we are right now? Our thinking, specifically, our preferences, the things that we consider and hold dear. And Are they, when you talk about legacy, what are their legacies? What is this thing that each of them did that you can look back and say, this person brought us this. Without this person, we wouldn't have done this. Why am I saying this? See, an honest discussion about the president can lead to an honest discussion about our history. When you have an honest discussion about your history, then you understand clearly the roles that people played. Because here we are in the 21st century and we're moving ahead, and there are so many things battling for our attention that half the time we're not really certain which direction to take. What is clear in this country is that we have a problem with the education system. What is also clear is that we have a problem with the health system in this country.
Yep.
It's very, very clear.
Yep.
Now, let me ask the question again. When we look at the leadership, would you say that the leadership of the former presidents of this country have led to us demanding better leadership qualities from our leaders? That's the question I'm asking. Because legacy is one thing. Legacy is not a project. People think it's a project. No. Legacy is a lingering understanding of certain things that you have left, that we remember you by. Buildings we forget. What is this thing we remember you for?
Like a sort of a philosophy.
Yes. Something that when one thinks, one realizes, this person stood for this. This person represented this.
Unfortunately, that is fast deteriorating as well, fast disappearing, whereby you can look at certain leaders and say this is what they stood for, this is what they held. I mean, of course, when you look at the time of Kibaki, everybody talks about, okay, well, he made sure that the economy came from one place to the next. And I think that's something that everybody always says, okay, it was clear what happened here. And you know what? A legacy right now that would be nice for somebody to leave behind. Just finishing things. Just saying, you know what, or fixing things. It could be that your legacy was the Mr. or Mrs. Fix-It, that you just fixed 1, 2, 3 things. And for me, that would take you for decades. If you just fixed certain things or demanded that there was excellence in certain areas, like you talk about education, like you talk about the health sector, it cannot be. I mean, just those words rang in my head when we had Manyasa here on Friday. And he said in 1989, the same problem with education that I experienced as an individual is the same problem in 2024 that school-going children are facing. Can you imagine if somebody fixed that? There was a blast and the fire in Embakasi Thursday last week. And the blood banks in Kenya are empty today. And the appeals for blood are shut. And on top of that, such a morally bankrupt operation whereby folks were even selling blood over the weekend. It's ridiculous. So imagine if somebody fixed that. Wouldn't that be an awesome legacy if those two things were fixed? Just those two.
It would.
It would be amazing.
Thinking of the legacy of the former President Moi, if you grew up in that era, you are school going. 1978 when he became president, that's the year I went to university. And my memory, I actually met him twice. We acquired that I was part of, I had gone to Kabarak, I was asked to go and meet the president. But that's not the story. The story is, if I look at the effort that the former late President Moi put into education, the push to build schools, the push to open up learning, the push to build universities, that started with him actually. Because when he took over, there was one university in the whole country. The college I went to was Kenyatta University College. It was a constituent college of the University of Nairobi. The entire faculty of education was at Kenyatta. That's what it was for. It was for education. Now, it is easy to look at how it is remittances come into this country and what it is that we benefit from remittances without understanding that in the absence of a robust education system with all the flaws that we see, it would be impossible for you to be a country that actually exports its labor, because that labor has to be trained. So somebody who opened up the education sector as he did, in many ways, in my mind, It's a legacy I cannot forget because I can see what it did. Other people built on it later. And pride is being taken about the human resource of this country. And forgetting that someone somewhere took steps that other people had not taken before. It's not that other people were not taking steps, but the sort of steps he took had not been taken before.
Yeah.
Then others have built on it.
Yeah.
And so here we are.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we need to... we've gotten to a place where this microwave solution mentality is across the entire country. Well, we want things to happen today.
And
we need, I think we need a leader who just preaches to all of us, and we all see that it's a vision that's going to take long, but this is the journey. Vision 2030 was a brilliant document, which should have been, followed through. We know that this is Vision 2030. These are the milestones. These are the pillars. If we're all operating on clear understanding of what Vision 2030 is all about, and then following through, would be somewhere. Deng Xiaoping in 1978, when he became the president of China, came up with that thing and said, all right, so this is our vision going forward as a people. These are the things that we have to do. When we say, all right, so we go into one-child policy, it's so that we contain our population as we develop these other things. And we have seen 30 years later,
look at it,
the impact
is profound
of what that guy was saying and doing is profound. It took him a long time to rise to that position.
Oh, yes, it did.
When he did, after the passing of Chairman Mao,
yes.
And he gets there and he says, okay, so this is the direction I'd like us to take. As a party, this is how we are going to be. We are not going to have one leader who rules forever.
No.
There has to be a succession plan as a party, and this is how we become leaders. I will exit after this. The next person comes, exits after this. But then you're continuing from this point on. You go and build and build and build onto it. Choose however you're building, but this is what we are doing. And you could see it moving. We have a Vision 2030. Can you imagine if Kibaki had started it, and then Uhuru came and said, all right, so this is Vision 2030. This is the blueprint. Let us discuss this blueprint.
Building on this.
Build on this.
Where would we be?
It's 2030, okay. By the year 2020, whatever, we start thinking, how do we move from 2030 to the next one? Ruto has no conversation about what happens after 2030. He wants to be president until 2032. It'll be past 2030. Are you hearing any conversation about, all right, so you, Kinandi, can you put together a team that now
realization of 2030, the vision? What?
It's like with every leadership, there are whisperers who tell them, you must start your own projects. And then when you look at the projects they started, they're not very different from the ones the other person had started.
They're not.
They're just calling it something different.
They're not.
So why not just continue with this project?
That's what I'm saying.
And also just look back and say, so how do we run it? Because if you look at all these things that they're doing, health, housing and all, these are not their ideas. It's not Ruto's brilliant idea for today. It was there from before. Even housing was there from before.
Yes.
So why not just have a conversation on, okay, we are seeing the need for housing. How do we address this need for housing, and how do we approach it? Do we build all the houses today? Do we build houses progressively? How do we do it? If it's health coverage, how do we get there?
But you know what I think? That it all comes from this place whereby folks don't think about the continuance of leadership. Folks don't think about the continuance of development. It's about, I'm here now, and what's it going to be for me? Without looking at the future of the nation. Really, if you did look at the future of a nation, you would realize that you coming in as a leader and your whole group of people is actually to move it from where this other person finished and then take it to the next. It's not to start all over again. It isn't. I think when we get out of that, that's when you start to see that there's actually where we've been able to move. And then in the progression of things, you can see, move from here to here to here. But
you hand over something that's clear. We all understand it's a relay. You're four of you. The last person to cross the line is crossing the line on behalf of the team.
Yes.
You're starting, you're running, and you hand over the baton to the next one. Like that. But no. Even at governors, everybody's just thinking, me, my 5 years.
There's a legacy that we have. It's a rather tainted legacy, very lopsided and very lame. We understood at some point in our history that the only way to plunder is to initiate projects.
Yes.
And then we enshrined it, we institutionalized it. So unfortunately, when you hear project, you wins.
You wins.
Yes.
All right, let me tell you about Cape Verde and how it has eliminated malaria. It's the third African country to have done so. They've been certified as malaria-free by the World Health Organization.
Wow.
The archipelago to the west of Senegal consists of 10 islands and has a population of over 500,000 people. It is the third country in Africa to be declared malaria-free after Mauritius in 1973 and Algeria in 2019. This brings the number of malaria-free countries to 43 worldwide. Achieving malaria-free certification is no simple feat. As specialists in malaria prevention and control, we explained Cape Verde's long journey to eliminating the disease that killed over 600,000 people worldwide in 2022. So the archipelago consists of 10 islands, this being one of them. During the 1940s, of course, malaria posed a serious health threat. There were severe epidemics and they resulted in the death of over 200 people annually until targeted interventions were implemented. So the country was close to eliminating malaria twice, but these gains were not sustained. Indoor residual spraying with DDT was done on each island until transmission ended nationwide in 1967. The residual effect of the insecticide helped kill mosquitoes over a longer period. The use of chemicals to target mosquito larvae at breeding sites and then saw that this was also undertaken and saw the reduction of malaria. Now, the indoor spraying campaigns were stopped in 1969. The result was a recurrence of the local transmission on Santiago in 1973. So they go through the history of all the things that they did over years to see. Now, there was another outbreak thereafter, but then that transmission was successfully interrupted, and for 4 years there was not a single case of malaria. Now, the World Health Organization reported 249 million malaria cases and 619,000 deaths in 2022. This region accounted for 94% of all cases and 96% of all deaths. So the free status highlights the determination and commitment that countries must meet these stringent criteria. So you're looking at the reduction to zero of locally transmitted cases for at least 3 consecutive years. That's the first one. The second one, a country must show it has the ability to prevent reintroduction of disease transmission. Only then may countries request certification from the World Health Organization. And
so which are the other 2 countries again?
Algeria and Mauritius.
Malaria free.
So you have not had a case of malaria for 3 years. Consecutive years. And then you've also seen that so you've also seen that you can prevent a reintroduction. So you have all these things in place so that if anything comes everywhere, we have set up 1, 2, 3, and these are monitored. They're looked over and over by the World Health Organization. When you achieve this, then the World Health Organization comes in and says, yes, you continue to prevent, you submit annual reports to the World Health Organization. Over 10 years, you're granted, and this is the year that it was granted to Cape Verde.
Okay, it's a good one. Something big is happening in the country. The government has introduced a bill to protect Kenyans' right to basic education, right to nutrition, right to food security, right to healthcare, and right to employment. The bill, which was approved by the cabinet, seeks to enhance and to implement the right to social protection for citizens through the Social Protection Department. According to the Labour and Social Protection CS, Florence Bore, the bill seeks to address the existing gaps in the social protection.
I'm sorry.
What? But there are gaps, Buana.
Yeah.
You don't know there are gaps? The proposed law also details the eligibility criteria for social protection, as well as the rights and obligations of the existing and potential beneficiaries of social protection. Among the areas the proposed bill seeks to address is the expansive meaning of social protection beyond the limited scope provided for in the Social Assistance Act of 2013. Some of these areas targeted for expansion include income security, social health protection, social assistance, shock responsive social protection, fair labor market practices, and complementary programs. Have you understood the thing that I've said?
Nope.
No.
Well, just know that there is now a better bill to guarantee your rights to social protection. Okay?
I have understood nothing.
right to basic education, right to food security, right to health, right to all those things. This one bill, it passes through Parliament from tomorrow.
But they were not there already.
You are right.
The Bill of Rights.
The Bill of Rights.
That's the Constitution. You need now the law to bring it to life.
So
it's 7 a.m. Time for the news.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newsroom. Dennis Aseto. The Embakasi death toll has hit 6 after 2 more people died. Government spokesperson Isaac Mora said that the government will provide assistance to the affected and specialized treatment to the victims.
The burns on the skin will have an effect on the kidney because the body discharges, waste through the skin. So there may be kidney complications, and already KNH is preparing for that, and KU referral, so that then we are able to take care of such complications and many others that may arise as a result of this humanitarian emergency.
He added that the government will ensure that all school-going children who are affected will go to school without uniforms as the government works to assisting them regain normalcy.
The number of children who need to go back to school with no uniform we are trying to ascertain the actual numbers, but certainly they will be from the 39, so that then we get to know what kind of support they can. Of course, they will have to go to school without the uniforms in the meantime, but estimating about 6,000 shillings for each person for 2-3 months, that cash transfer. That arrangement is being done with the local administration so that they are at least able to get out of the social hall.
Meanwhile, the operator of the said gas filling station, through his lawyers, denied reports that he has gone into hiding, stating that he has been in contact with the police and that the said property operated as a garage.
It is important to note that our client is not in hiding. He is available, he is within the public and has been in touch with sections of the police. Our client had not been operating a gas filling operation in that premises. The premises for the last few years has been operating as a garage, and till Thursday was still operating as a garage. The motor vehicle that caused this incident was trespassing into his property without his knowledge and consent.
The Magathi Hospital is choking in debt due to delayed remittances from the NHIF and debt accrued over the years. Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna, while on a visit to the hospital, found out that citizens who have been discharged from the facility still remain there on what is thought to be tough economic situation in the country.
The discharges still in the ward, we call them discharge-ins, are 40. Total inpatient for the last 24 hours up to now, 457 against a bed capacity of 347. Yeah.
So you can see we're struggling. And what does it say about the state of the nation and the state of the economy? When somebody has been treated, he has been discharged, but he would rather stay in hospital than go home. Because they are saying the situation at home is worse than at Magathi Hospital. At least here, they are guaranteed that the doctor here will give them a meal. Nyumbani ni kubaya bwana.
He further called on the government and the NHIF to pay the pending bills so that the hospital may continue with serving Kenyans who frequent the facility for assistance.
There is a question of pending bills of 119 million shillings that is owed by the NMS to various suppliers when they were in charge of the hospitals at that particular time. We also want to say that it is a heavy burden on our facilities here to have that debt on our books, yet they were incurred by an entity that has now been declared defunct, and the people who are responsible for that again are the people at State House. So we want them to facilitate these hospitals to be able to pay all those debts out. We are being told that NHIF owes this facility alone 85 million shillings in unpaid remittances. So we want to also urge that NHIF needs to release this money so that we can continue some of the programs we are going on, what we are doing here.
United States Secretary of State Anthony Blinken over the weekend spoke with retired President Uhuru Kenyatta about the escalating conflict in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. In a press release, the U.S. Department of State said they will discuss the importance of the Nairobi process in providing a pathway to reconciliation with armed groups. The talks follow a recent attack at DRC town of Mombasa, North Kivu, where 19 people were killed following clashes between the Congolese army and the M23 on January 26th. The war in Eastern DRC has caused massive population displacement. According to the UN, more than 7 million civilians have fled their villages throughout DRC due to the insecurity caused by the fighting. As the facilitator of the East Africa Community-led Nairobi peace process, Uhuru Kenyatta has been integral in the peace-building process. He has been the facilitator of the East Africa Community-led to Nairobi peace process. This is News. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
Kangondo Road busy this morning. There's a hold-up coming in through towards the Outer Ring Junction. Looks like it's packing up pretty tight through towards Outer Ring. Outer Ring, though, is flowing freely. There's a lot of traffic on the Thika. Wow, there's a lot of traffic on the Thika Superhighway this morning. It's coming in heavy from Githurai all the way through to the GSU headquarters junction, and then beyond that, even your service lanes are bumper to bumper. What happened? Everybody decided this morning we're coming out. Well, that's what's going on because it's tight. It's also pretty heavy on Kiambu Road all of a sudden. Traffic, a number of lanes coming through towards Muthaiga Square, and then folks finding their way into the city or then background through towards the Thika Superhighway. Limuru Road is also busy. We're seeing movement coming out of Westlands now, and then a bit of a hold up as you get to the junctions. So Jago Road started from a while back and right around the Makadara train station out through towards the City Stadium roundabout. That's also packing in some areas. We're getting into traffic hour. I don't know what it's going to look like then if it's already so busy now. Keep your wits about. Let's know what's going on in your neck of the woods. You find a good route, let us know that, and we'll share with folks this morning. We'll talk on SpiceFM, KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your
Monday
day.
Of February 2024. Welcome to the second hour of The Situation Room. Thank you for joining us on SpiceFM, on KTN Home, on YouTube, and on Facebook. We live stream this show every day or from Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. We call it The Situation Room. Ndu?
Yes.
And Friday, today is Monday, then Friday will be the 9th, and then the next week, and then we'll have a Valentine's Day.
Indeed.
On 14th.
On the 14th.
Wednesday.
Yes.
Wednesday next week.
Yes.
Hey.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
We are on air, but love is in the air. Valentine's Day is here, and we want to show you how you can make it even more special, courtesy of the Elegance in Love dinner. I can see CT smiling because he's got plans. No matter what your love language is, CT, we definitely speak it, and we speak it elegantly. Be sure to join us for an evening filled with bliss at the Sarit Center on the 14th of February 2024 from 6 p.m. You better not miss it. Simply go to www.ticketsasa.com and get your tickets. Elegance in Love cocktail dinner is brought to you, of course, by the Standard Group and the Sarit Center. But remember, the colors, we want you to deck up in the colors of gold and burgundy. Burgundy and gold.
What's the other word for burgundy?
Red.
I think it's leaning closer to a maroon.
And maroon is what? Red.
Sini nyekundu.
It's a kind of red.
Blood.
It's a kind of red.
Blood.
Kind of red. So the tickets go for 3,000 shillings for a regular single, 5,500 shillings for a regular couple, and then 10,000 shillings for a VIP couple. Now, CT, I know you're going to ask me, so what if you're single but you want to feel like a VIP?
I'm not asking that question anymore.
Don't worry. Look, 3 things you need to remember. Love is in the air. Number 2, come out and celebrate. Number 3, do it at the Sarit Centre on the 14th of February next week on Wednesday. And then show up dressed in burgundy and gold. Shike nang, you'll be done.
Bas, that's it. The city will be there at Sarit, your city.
Hey, I see what you did there. Well done.
Abdullahi Alas is the executive director of Elite Crew Consulting Limited. He's been our guest here many times, but he hasn't been here this year.
Yeah, it was for 3 months now.
Hey, it's been 3 months.
Yes.
Hey. Happy New Year, brother.
Happy New Year. Sasa, every year is Happy New Year. You know, some things give me Happy New Year, we do Valentine. What happens on 15th? Love will end?
No. You commemorate the day. When at Christmas you commemorate, but
these things must be done. You see, who defined these things? The problem I have with some of these things, we should be blessed that we are allowed to live another year.
Yes.
Yeah, the language might be different.
So we say Happy New Year.
But no, I don't say Happy New Year. I don't.
What do you say?
We say blessed that we are still alive.
So like when
so now do the greeting now. It's a new year. Do the
yeah, I say good morning and I'm happy to be here and all of us are alive.
Okay.
Happy New Year, or either way, you can only talk when you're alive. Dead don't talk from the graves. So we are happy that all of us are alive.
So we are happy that all of us are alive in this new year.
In this new year.
Okay. Hi. Happy to be alive this new year, Abdullahi Alas.
I've been asking this Valentine thing.
You don't worry. Just
how's Mandera? Last
Mandera
we
is
spoke
good.
was on phone, and what was happening there was heavy flooding.
Mandera exposed the poor preparation of emergencies in terms of the government, because 60 years after independence, lorries and vehicles heading to northern Kenya were stuck between Habaswein and Madogashe for 1 month.
1 month.
1 month. So food became expensive. It just shows that our country is not well prepared for disasters or emergencies. Like I was listening to you guys when I was coming, you were talking about the fire. So we will respond. Currently, things have opened up. They've made some maram, but I know if it rains, it will go to square one. Because there is no long-term thinking of fixing these things because of the nature of our politics and how to implement policies. But people are surviving. Things are tough because diesel in Mandera is 230 shillings.
Diesel?
Yeah.
It's available though?
Yes, it is.
But it's cost 230.
Yeah, for those that from Nairobi, those from Somalia and Ethiopia is cheaper. So if the black market. So if you, but the problem is you can't know what is in those things. So
adulteration.
So I normally just fuel from one petrol station, and that is 230. So sometimes you only use the car between 12 and 2. If you need anything else, you just walk. Because it's too expensive.
We'll continue with this conversation shortly. But first, City is going to give you the day's proverb. And it's courtesy of EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. You know EcoBank, Abdullahi?
Yes.
It's in many countries.
No,
how many countries is it? You've seen it in town as well?
35 African countries, 4 outside.
In Kenya, how many towns are this?
So I think it was 9, I'll tell you.
It's not in my count.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're coming. They're expanding. They're sponsoring the AFCON, Africa Cup of Nations. It's ongoing right now. It's a bank that has branches across very many countries in Africa, and outside of Africa, there's the UK, there's France, and then there's China, and there's the UAE,
and then there's
and the UK, and then the France.
So,
what are they doing
South
in
Africa
Kenya?
would make up one of the 35 countries in Africa.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any social corporate responsibility they're doing in Kenya?
They've got many programs. We'll tell you about them when you get the details. Did you get the branches in Kenya?
10. So they are available in Eldoret, Kisumu, Nakuru, Mombasa, Nyeri, Thika, and Karatina, as well as express point agents across the country for convenient banking for all customers.
They've got agents banking as well.
But remember, when you say 10, that's in the towns. Huh? You may have more than one branch in one town, like say Nairobi.
Okay. So, City, this week the proverbs are from?
Namibia. But this is in memory of a man who has shown himself to be a great friend of this country. They meet the late president of Namibia, President Hage Geingob, who passed away yesterday. So it is in his memory that we have the proverbs for this week, and they're from the country of Namibia.
Okay.
Yes. A hunter in pursuit of an elephant does not stop to throw stones at birds.
A hunter in pursuit of an elephant does not stop to throw stones at birds. Abdullahi, what's your interpretation of this one?
The elephant is a very big animal. The bird is a very small animal. So you can still throw stones at the birds because the elephant can either be very slow or decide not to care about your stones. So it can mean we can shout from the rooftops of KICC, but Kenya Kwanza will still remain Kenya Kwanza.
Oh, God.
Did you want what was the purpose of shouting from the rooftop of KICC? To change Kenya Kwanza?
to say that you are not implementing what you told us on September at Kasarani. If you listen to the speech which I did last night again, I just laughed and I came to the studio.
This is at the inauguration, the swearing in. What are the things that were said that you have not seen?
He talked about the judiciary and how they stood to the powers of the evil who wanted to change the will of the country, and how he was going to support them. But today he does not want to follow court orders. Oxymoron in Kenyan politics. That, you see, when he was given the constitution and when he was given the sword, he was interested more on the sword than the constitution. Because the constitution was given to him first, before the sword. But Ruto decided to show us the sword and not the constitution. And when you praise a man who did his job and he was paid handsomely by a Kenyan taxpayer called Chipukati, and then all of a sudden you are hearing he's going to be the next Chief Justice.
Well, I
mean that's what is in the everything that is said in Kenya will end up to some truth later on in life, and we are here. So what I'm saying is, what defines a man is a character, because sometimes we might glorify power. We might think some people have more money than others because everyone has money, but some people have more. But the moment you think because you have more, you're better than other people, and then you see someone who does not care about those things, then you find how poor you are. So this country has a president. In Somali we say you can't have milk on this side and water on this side and expect them not to mix. Double speak and deception oriented statements defines a man's character. What defines the president of this country is what he says and what he implements. Because I remember In the poster, we have Kenya Kwanza policies vis-a-vis Kenyans. This country has the 5th president. He was elected by Kenyans. He was begging people for votes before election, literally mixing, eating maize around people. But in Kakamega, there's a young man who wanted, I think, to talk to him.
Yeah.
He was mishandled. In fact, the president was saying, leave him. But the people around him, when he was even taken to the tent, he was taken behind the tent. That is a voter. That is an employer. That is the guy who employed Ruto because with his votes. So it is Ruto who is supposed to listen to us, not us listening to him, because we give him the job. When he was the deputy president, you remember how we used to cry foul about the judiciary, how systems were used by Kenyatta. Where did Ruto get the strength to talk to Kenyans like what he did in Meru? Nyinyi nitawaambia Mungu ya Ruto ama Mungu yetu, because it seems that we don't have the same God. Because when you go to Bungoma and Kenyans shout at you as a president in a crowd of about 200,000-300,000 people or more or close to, it shows Kenyans don't have jobs. That's why they're idle. Otherwise, how many people from Standard Building or Citizen or Parliament or Judiciary were in that rally? Most people who were in that rally are people who don't have jobs, or if they do casual work. If he was a guy who is thinking about policy-wise, he would have asked himself, why are they so many? Every time you go to a place, why are people not working? Why are Kenyans not in the production sector? So, this country, as we discussed before, in this country has a syndrome where political class, and then there was the MP from Nakuru who was telling the guys who came to collect CDF forms, why are you here? Somebody, Darama or I don't know, Arama. You see, these are people who were begging for votes. They were going to houses. They were sitting with people under a shade.
Yeah.
They were eating maize in the streets. All of a sudden, because you became the president of the republic, there were 4 presidents before you, and there will be many after you. So there is nothing special being a president. There are many presidents in the world, around 190 something. The context is, when you're given the position of leadership and you want to change things, the employer, who is the citizen of this country, you cannot address them the way you want. Because when you go to Meru, wewe ndio uliwatafuta. So they will talk to you the way they want. They will tell you bye-bye, sujui, all the decorative names we have in this country. But when you go to Kakamega, you're the one who've gone to their houses and their homes. Your home is in Nairobi, you come from Sugoi. But because you're the president, you went there. So when you go there, address people with respect. And if they don't want housing, if I am hungry and you want to give me a house and I'm asking you, boss, I can't even sleep in the streets of Nairobi. Don't worry about where I sleep. Give me what to eat.
So, Alas, are we saying essentially, because let's look at, certain things that have come out recently, whether it's the increment of taxes here and there, or whether it's looking at just the housing levy, or certain things that have come out. I think one of the most recent things we saw over the weekend was a circular that came from the Ministry of Education, where now that by all national schools, parents will now pay fees towards the one e-citizen pay bill number. And immediately everybody went crazy because they said, absolutely not. This is a smokescreen for further corruption to take place. How can we be sure then that the money will reach schools for our children to eat in school and for our children to make sure, for us to make sure that certain things will happen in school? And there was instant uproar, right? And they said, no, this one definitely have to revisit. We're not going to be able to do that. Okay, put that aside. Prior to that, of course, we'd seen with the housing levy, there have been many groups who've come up and they've spoken and they've said, look, this is unacceptable because of 1, 2, 3. Whether it's the unions, whether it's civil society, whether it's corporate, private groups who've come out and have said, this cannot sail because of 1, 2, 3. And we see the manifestation of this because people then go to court. People petition to court and say, can this actually stop? Is what you're saying then that because we've seen obviously that there's a dissatisfaction amongst the citizenry, people are not just saying no for no's sake, but that there's reason behind why people are saying no. Are you saying that essentially a government, because we can't say that they're deaf, they hear, a government that is hearing what the people are saying over and over and over again should then be able to re-look at its policy, whatever it is, and say, actually, you know what, guys? We should be able to make a shift here. We should change this because we are not actually satisfying our people. That doesn't mean that you go at a whim and that just because your people stand up tomorrow, you do what they say. But if you see this regular dissatisfaction amongst the people on things for which they can give you fact and reason, are you saying that the responsibility then of government is to actually say, let's take a step back and relook at our policy?
First of all, Kenyans as the employers of the executive, the payers of the MPs, the payers of judiciary, have the right to be angry because the money belongs to them. The tax that is collected is mainly paid by Kenyans, majority. And like the policy of the Ministry of Education, who do they consult? They have no right to do anything. Once they want to bring policy, they should start from the bottom and tell parents, you know why? The kids belong to us, the money belongs to us. These are people who are paid. So they cannot make, like, a shopkeeper trying to tell the shop owner, we are going to do A, B, C, D, and then the guy tells him, I did not ask you to do that. Please, let's first do what we agreed. This country belongs to more than 50 million Kenyans who must be consulted at all times on anything. If you refuse, we will go to court. And then you start crying fool. What needs to happen is that when you bring in a policies that work very long time are bottom up. Because it will affect people. Now, before, like the guys who are sitting in AC rooms that are paid by Kenyans think they can do whatever they want. Now, Ministry of Education is already having issues. I told you access to education in many parts of the country is very, very limited. Access to health in most places is limited because if you look at even housing, the people who own houses, and we say houses, we can say both modern and tradition, they're about 61% in this country according to National Standard Bureau of Standard. But the people who bought houses in this country are 3.5 million, which means more than 47 have either built or they're living in temporary houses. If you look at the numbers of passport holders, they're about 3.5 million Kenyans. So literally, the people who are traveling out of this country are zero, very, small percentage. If you look at the policies of, say, in taxes, we are paying like 4 or 5 taxes, different taxes. The problem with taxes is there is no a country that has ever developed because they're paying high taxes. People who develop further increase the base tax and feed people, and then people can now have activities and exchange and then thrive. Now, when you say, let me give you 2 examples that is happening to me. I can send this to Eric. One is the units, Kenya Power, electricity. In September 2022, 1,000 shillings was 62.74 units. Today, it's 31. Is that an improvement or we have gone back? In fuel, like I told you in Mandera, August 2022, 5,000 shillings was giving me 41 liters for my car. Today, it is giving me 20.4 liters. That is not progress. This idea of telling us we are paying debt. Kwani debt yetu haishi? This debt from Uhuru to next Uhuru to Ruto haishi. So the disconnect between people, the politicians, and the citizens is Like the housing. You say you're building a house and you're using taxpayers' money. Then why are you going? Why if it's taxpayers' money, the land belongs to us because it's a community land. Kenya belongs to all of us. So if you've built it, let's say in Mandera or Wajir, which I don't see houses coming up, where will I live? You deduct money from me. Will I live in Turkana or Nyeri or where will I live? Because you're building 40 units, 50 units, that's not enough. What's the criteria of selecting these houses? The problem we have is the president is the one initiating projects, he is the one monitoring projects, and then he's the one also telling us the feedback. That is a very biased concept of research. When you implement a project, when you initiate a project, you bring an outsider, you're a researcher, CT. You bring an outsider who is not biased, who will give us the nitty-gritties of the project. Now, Kenyans have refused housing because the problem of Kenya is income. The problem of Kenya is affording life. The problem, he said he's going to build 250,000. Well, Uhuru, when he was with Uhuru built like 50,000. Some projects are not complete. If you go to around California, Starehe, Pangani, they're not finished. Why? Go back to Uhuru's time. When Uhuru came to power in 2013, 256 projects for Kibaki have been abandoned. When Ruto came to that, the cost of abandoned projects in terms of pending bill is about 9 trillion. And that's, I'm quoting it from what was said in Parliament. Now, this is what happened. Worth 9 trillion stated during the Mwai Kibaki and Uhuru Kenyatta regime have stalled disclosure in Parliament show. This was, the other day. The Assembly Budget Committee disclosed projects include roads, office blocks, dams, irrigation projects were started in the breach of guidelines that require secure funding, raising concerns about the country's planning and public spending decisions. Now, like the Port of Lamu, it was started, I think, 1970-something, 1975-74 there. Government works progressively, but some of the projects are continuing. That's why we plan. This government does this. The other government finishes what the previous government started because we're using so much money in them in terms of funding, and that's costing our budget. Now, everyone is saying, and then the problems, the projects that were launched, proved by Uhuru Kenyatta, are being relaunched by Gachagua and Ruto in central Kenya and in the part of, I have a list. Some of them were built in 2019, 400 million technical institutions that people were using for KCAC for the last 8 years. They are being relaunched. I love, in the slang language in the streets of Nairobi, tunasemanga hii watu wawache hii umama. You see? So, policies are supposed to be implemented based on research, based on need, very progressively. It's monitored midway, then we will always get what we want. But right now, the country, why is it that every Kenyan is shouting? If you go to the street of Nairobi, I was in Nairobi from Thursday, everyone is very angry.
Well, let's talk actually about that.
Yeah.
Why are people angry, as you say? What is it that people are saying? And are they responding to exactly what's happening, or are they responding to something else, something different? 27 minutes to 8. Our guest this morning is Abdullahi Alas. He's a commentator. He's been here before. He's the executive director of Elite Crew Consulting Limited. Abdullahi, we'll talk about water, Keringet water. They say, own your richness. City. Yes, own your richness basically talks about the fact that the water is coming from the rich soil of Kenyan lands. It is filtered through natural rock. It's infused with natural minerals, and then it's bottled at source. And
when you say own your richness, you want to ask, really, what is my richness? Your richness is your life, really. And if you're talking about your life as a human being, then you really want to talk about this life we speak of. What are we referring to? Well, let me give you a for example. Okay? 60 to 70% of your body is water. That's what it is. Now, if it is water, and we're talking about Keringet, which is also water. And we're saying this water has minerals, and minerals are good for you. Pick and choose whether it is zinc, whether it is fluoride, whether it is iron, whether it is potassium, whether it is magnesium, whether it is calcium. There's something it does for your body. Now, when you take it, what are you doing? You are infusing every little bit and pieces of you with whatever it needs to function properly.
Yep.
That is what you've done. So you're owning your richness.
Keringet, own your richness. 26 minutes to 8. Ndu.
Yes.
Finya computer. Tuweke dola kwa mfuko.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
If a lion shows you its teeth, it doesn't mean it likes you.
It doesn't mean it likes you. It won't start. A liar calls as witness one who is either dead or far away. Say it in Kiswahili.
Ben low, nin inte, yenin der, ayu markati kadikta. You know this character called liar. He has disturbed people. So when you tell him who are your witnesses, he will take you to a place where it is difficult to verify.
For someone like me who sweats a lot, I cannot survive there. Sweating is biblical. And he must blame it on Adam, not me. Because Adam messed up and he was told, now you fellow, you, by the sweat of your brow, thou shalt eat.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Some very nice, mature music.
They really take me back to my days, and I can just feel young again and enjoy the vibes.
Morning. It's partly cloudy in Nairobi, and the sun is peeking through those clouds. We'll see highs of 25 and lows of 16. Lows of 14 in mostly cloudy Nakuru, going to highs of 26, and it's clear at 14 in Nyeri with highs of 25 and lows of 12. It's 13 and cloudy in Eldoret with highs of 24 and lows of 12. Mombasa is partly cloudy at 26 with highs of 32, and we'll see highs of 33 in a mostly cloudy Malindi at 27. It's clear at 20 in Kisumu with highs of 29, while Kakamega will see highs of 30. It's partly cloudy at 18. Kampala is partly cloudy at 20 with highs of 28, and it's clear this morning in Dar es Salaam at 27 with highs of 32. Mostly cloudy at 15 in Johannesburg with highs of 29, while Mogadishu is partly sunny at 26 going to highs of 32. It's 12 degrees and mostly cloudy in Addis Ababa with highs of 24. Hazy over Lagos at 25 with highs of 35 today and lows of 24, while it's mostly cloudy in Kinshasa at 25. We'll see highs of 31 and lows of 24.
Spice up your life.
It is a busy Monday, and we're looking at heavy traffic on the Thika Superhighway this morning. It doesn't seem to be letting off, not yet at least. And just look at that, heavy, all the way in from Githurai this morning and even beyond that. And we're looking at it coming heavy from that Roiro Junction, touching on the Committee Road and coming in from the Kasarani Police Station. Traffic is heavy in both directions. Not quite sure what's causing this, but it hasn't been like this for a hot minute. It's coming all the way through towards the survey area and then through towards the Pangani underpass. It's heavy. It's moving very slowly. If you're on Kiambu Road, you'll also experience the same coming in from just beyond the DCI headquarters, and it's inching slowly towards Muthaiga Square, and it's actually starting to grow in the opposite direction. So if you don't have to use that route, think of another. Take the northern bypass and then go off in the other direction. You might come out towards Limuru Road, where you also find traffic coming and touching on Wangari Maathai Way. It's heavy coming out of Westlands. Chiromo is also packing up. As it is on this side of things, Raila Odinga Way is moving very slowly as well. We're in traffic hour early. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on X. Hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Here with us. Abdullahi, as we're going into the break, we talked about there's when you go around the country, you feel like people are unhappy about something. Are they unhappy about the same things? If you went to Mandera and the people are unhappy, those in Garissa, those in Isiolo, if you go to those in Kiambu, those in Mombasa, in Kakamega, in Kisumu, in Mombasa, in Kwale, are they unhappy about the same thing?
Well, on last week I attended a meeting, Kongamano la Mapinduzi, with Mwalimu, and I met Kenyans from all over. We've had guys from Kisumu, Bungoma, Baringo, all over the country, Kiambu, Murang'a. You see, a country, when we say government, there is government and then there is policy. The government comes before the policy because it's the one that works for the people on behalf, especially those politicians who are forming these policies with the help of the public. Kenyans are angry because we had a president who told us he's going to change a lot. Remember the Mama Mboga, the Boda Boda, all those sloganism. Now, you see, when you seduce a lady and then you marry her, life begins. Now, if your transformer is not working for the first month and the second month and third month, that lady wanted to have a functioning husband. If you are not worth in her life. And most probably she will leave you because she's not getting what she desired to have as a person. Because the essence of getting married is accompanying, satisfaction of our conjugal rights, having children for some, others don't, others may not have. So when you came as a member of parliament for several years, as a deputy president for 10 years, and then Kenyans, you told them all the slogans you could. Now the reality has kicked in. And when you're managing a country, from the appointment of the cabinet secretaries to the PSS, there was something amiss. Appointment of parastatus, Kenyans will begin to ask, what you were telling us yesterday and what you are trying to do, like if 70-60% of one community is occupying office, you cannot trust other communities with these positions. Yet yesterday you were with them begging for votes in everywhere in the country, sleeping in Mandera, going to Elwak, you were in Turkana. But today Turkana cannot be entrusted with some positions, especially if there is a lot of money. Now, when the prices of everything have gone up from when Uhuru was the president, then you are either lying to us or you're doing business with us. Let's talk about universal healthcare.
So just to answer the question, are they unhappy about the same thing?
Yes. The cost of living is one of them. I told you, the cost of living is high because it's even cheaper in Nairobi, about 217, but it's 230 in Mandera. So fuel. Food is the same. If you look at sugar, in Mandera is expensive. You see, for 12.5 kgs, it goes for around 1,300. For ugali is about 2,000. So everything has gone by 50% up from the previous regime.
Okay.
That
so are they putting it on a regime issue? If the people in Mandera are looking at the cost of living and they're saying, all right, so the cost of living has gone up, are they saying that it has gone up because of Ruto, because of Kenya Kwanza, or are they placing it on something else?
No, you see,
universally.
Universally, there is nothing that has happened in the last 1 year that was not there in the last 2-3 years. Ukraine started a long time ago. Palestine issues is now 4 months, but it has been there for the last 75 years. Today, Argentina, people are demonstrating. Europeans have blocked European Parliament with tractors and big machines. The Canadians have collected almost 390 online petition to remove their prime minister. So this is a global thing for all of us. But how we handle Kenya is not operating in a vacuum, yes. But you see, there was a regime that you were castigating, that you were part of it. Now you came, you have done some things before even you studied. And it's biting on us. Yet we have not seen salaries of the member of president going down. We have not seen salaries of members of parliament going down. We have not seen salaries of everyone going down. So there's a certain clique of people who are enjoying life as Kenyans, and there are those who have employed them are suffering. So why they are making noise is those they have, I told you, there is the ability for people to hire people who will think for them or themselves, and then they discuss. Universal healthcare, you said, it's okay, it's a good thing. But how do you approach it is the problem. In 2020 or 2022, we have hired, universal healthcare nurses. Some were paid initially for the first 1 year, 10,000, 15,000. Then some were given contract of 3 years. It expired. Now they're given another 3 years. They are now in the 4th year. They don't have gratuity. They don't have much of access in terms of allowances. And I'm saying this because I talk to people. I get my information from people. I'm in the hospitals, I'm in the banks, I'm in the bar, I'm in the mosque, I'm in the church with friends and talking to everyone. So that as a person making sense of what's happening in the country, you feel, even though I feel it myself.
Yeah.
So universal healthcare's problem cannot be started by saying we are going to start from Ruto's dimension. No, it has to start from the village. How do you do that? You first research on how many dispensaries and health centers are there across the country. If they are there, how, like Kenya says, you should have a dispensary or health center every 4 kilometers. But that's not so in most parts. There is a dispensary in Guticha Ward in Mandera North that had 1 nurse for the last 30 years. And today it has still 1 nurse and 2 volunteers. Do you think the population of that place has not grown for the last 30 years?
So what are we saying here? And this, I think, goes back to my earlier question of, this is obvious that there's dissatisfaction in Kenya today. I think it goes a little bit more than that. There's dissatisfaction, it is disappointment.
Kenyans are angry.
Yeah, so if you look at the graduated emotions that folks are feeling right now, and so we've gotten to the point where for a lot of people it's fever pitch, right? People are angry, and you know how you're in traffic sometimes, and as you inch closer to the junction, you're looking for the source of that traffic, right? And then you come out and say, what was causing this traffic in the first place? Where did it all come from? And I think that's the question that we're asking right now. As everybody is kind of feeling this thing and we're mushing and saying, what's the source of this problem? Is it that the cost of living is too high? Is it that there are more taxes being levied? Is it that there is a tone-deaf executive? What is it that is a problem? And the question is then, if we are going towards solutions, is it that the president and it's the executive ought to say, look, Kenyans are telling you something, let's change. And if they were to change, what would that be? The practicality of this conversation has to be very clear here, because we can be angry and people can be upset and maybe get over it at some point. But if it's going to go towards any kind of solution, where would we be going?
I'm sure most of you have heard about the king is naked. The story of the king is naked. I don't know whether you have heard City. There lived a king in a country, and he always used to dress beautifully or handsomely for every hour. Then 2 thugs came to him and told him, why are you dressing like this? We can we can weave fabric.
Emperor's new clothes.
Yeah, emperor's new clothes that the only intelligence people will see, but the fools will not see. Then we know what happened. Then a small boy said, but the king is naked. This country has a political class, especially this regime, that is doing business with Kenyans. Why? You can see from how angry they are. As a president, you're already paid. Why do you need to be angry? You don't need to be angry. You're already in State House. We are paying for everything, including your massage. Including people who polish your shoes. We literally pay for everything. All those cars belong to Kenyan public. You've seen when it was in Nakuru, around 40. We pay for those things. Why are you angry? What you need to do is tell your guys and tell them, look, whatever we are trying to propose, Kenyans wamekataa. What do we do? Even if it is 1 year, just bring back the subsidy. Even you see, most of these, when were they taken? Most of these debts, some of them were taken during Kibaki. Countries always pay debt. There is not, because it's a mechanism by the big brothers who manage us, the IMF, the World Bank. It's a way of mechanism of managing us, because we refused to get away from it. Sankara he died for it. So there is nothing new these guys are telling us. So let me give you the challenges of universal healthcare in this country, because I did some digging. They say universal healthcare has its challenges in Kenya, which are short of government budgetary resources, weak health systems, high poverty level. Reaching vulnerable people is a problem. Selecting the right packages of benefit, integration of the informal sector, and misuse of resources. Now, you bring equipment where you don't have the experts, because it is money tenderpreneur intention. Universal healthcare or any project is not going to work in this country as long as Kenyans are poor. Because you want to treat people, and I said here, if they don't find enough food to eat, they eat the drugs. So if the health center in Mandera, in Guticha, has no clinical officer, it has no a lab technician, which means those people have to travel for 10...
Does it have a lab?
It doesn't. Okay. You see, so, and most of the guys, because of insecurity, the lab technician were mainly from another part, they ran away. There is no replacement because the budget is limited. As long as the country and Ruto government is not consuming data from Kenya National Bureau of Standards to improve Kenyans, these roadside shows, when did it become a community issue to build a road? When did it become a community issue to build a hospital?
What do you mean?
Yes?
What do you mean?
You see, you're going to a place, you're saying we are going to build a road in this community for the Luyas. In Mandera, my daughter goes to a school called Josta. I've just taken her to school, PP1. The lady who owns that, Madam Deborah, is from Kisumu. Yet they have schools that are run by Somalis. I didn't care about. I look for quality for my child. I don't care who runs it, and she's a Christian. The guy who is in charge of some of the department in Mandera Referral Hospital is from Kisii. This country belongs to 50 or 56 million Kenyans who do not know each other.
So what are you saying?
So what I'm saying is you're building a country for posterity. Forget about this region. Forget about this. If it's about region and one man, one shilling, Central produce 3 president. Gatundu has the highest jigas in this country. So the issue is policy trickling down to the village. It doesn't matter where Kikuyus live. It doesn't. Junet is from Mandera, but he's in Migori. He speaks Jaluo because this is one country. So the president must think and say, how do I develop? Because right now, the feature that is being built is not for Ruto.
Okay, so this is interesting.
The feature that's being built is for posterity.
He said on several occasions in the recent past, and we're talking about weeks here, that what you've just said is very interesting, because he said that actually, you know what, I'm doing exactly that. That what I'm doing right now, although it may seem painful in the interim, is actually for us to see a better tomorrow. Does it make sense that even though people cry today, and I keep giving the analogy of antibiotics, that you feel worse before you feel better, but the medicine and in its administration is actually for you to get better later. This is, according to him, what he's doing. So the cries that you hear today, the frustration that you hear today, the anger that you hear today will dissipate at some point, and the sun will shine again. Do you believe it?
Hope is good, but you see, sometimes you can sell false hope amongst people. As long as the first principle in terms of good governance is observing the rule of law anywhere in the world. Because otherwise, when the president of the Republic of this country comes to a television and tell us the courts have stopped the, police going to Haiti. Yes, that's their work. Yeah, because you are surpassing your power. When did the National Security Committee have the powers to send people to go and die and come back in gaskets in Haiti? Does he know where Haiti is and what they do? When the president tells Kenyans he's going to build houses and they refuse, why are you forcing them? Why don't you listen to them? As long as the president has said he is not going to listen to the court orders, there is nothing we are going to listen from him. Because that is a mindset of a person who is committing impunity. You must respect the courts. I went to court, I told you. I appeared before Judge James Ritter. 9 times I won against the county government of Mandera. They said they are going to corrupt the judges. I didn't see. Because from the judgment, for 7-8 months, I was getting court orders against the county. When Ahmed Nasir comes to a television and say the judges are corrupt, I mean, there are avenues for those positions, for those issues to be addressed. There is Judicial Service Commission. If a person wrongs me, I go to the police. I don't take a gun and kill them. If I have Chatema, there was a judge who was removed in this country. Corruption is embedded in Kenya's governance system. In fact, if you ask some people, the president is doing business with housing because we have friends in government, very senior people. You talk to them, they tell you the president doesn't listen to anyone. And it's apparent he's not listening to anyone because he's forcing the house levy thing in our throat, even after court order.
This house levy thing is bothering you. Like.
Yes?
Hii kitu ninasumbua.
Sikusumbua. Kama kotini imekataa. Why are you forcing it to us? And I'm telling you, I want food. Why are you forcing? I can sleep anywhere.
You know, it's a valid question. But back to the question of anger. I was listening. Yes, it is most likely that Kenyans are angry for all the reasons you say. But is it also possible that Kenyans are angry with themselves?
To some extent, yes.
Because you feel you are taken for a ride. You believed, and now you are realizing that what you believed in isn't quite what you were told, and it's likely that it's not going to be what you thought it would be. And with every day, it's becoming clearer that this thing, the likelihood of it ever happening is getting dimmer and dimmer and dimmer.
I think there's a term I use these days that is called educated fools. This country has people who think that amassing wealth, like this, I was listening to one of the religious scholars in Islam, and he said, a man is born with nothing. Mm-hmm. He struggles to accumulate everything, and then he dies and leaves all those things. Like, I've listened to Steve Jobs. You see, with all his money, the money could not treat cancer. And it's so with everyone in this country. Obsession with material stuff. What defines a man is character. Do you tell the truth? Yes. If Indu tells me today, I'm going somewhere, please deposit this 100,000 for me in the bank, how trustworthy am I? Indu is not a Muslim. And then she gives me money, 100,000. I'm claiming to be a Muslim. I go to the mosque, I pray. She tells me, bro, please deposit this for me in the bank. I go to the bank, I remove 2,000. And then I deposit 98,000.
That's commission.
Alafu naambia, unajua ndio, I took a taxi, alafu nilitumia, hiyo ni commission yangu.
Yes.
Seriously. So, I normally use a very rough thing that about men who think they are very special. And Eric, I said, as long as every man is siring his own children, and no one is calling you to give us children, your sperm, you're not important.
No one is asking for your assistance.
No.
Yes.
And as long as you go to the toilet, whether you use water or you use tissue paper, you're the one cleaning your ass, then no one is cleaning for you, then how important are you? Kenyans are obsessed with big houses, big money, not life. And that's the problem we have as a country. You cannot satisfy an empty drum from two ends. A human being is an empty drum. How many years were you eating, as a human being? You will eat until you die. And you will eat something that is in a plate. So if you want to satisfy the things that it's not even meant to be satisfied, you're supposed to live a decent life, an honest life. You tell the truth. You are trustworthy. When you die, I remember you discussing about legacy when I was on the way. Legacy is not a project, as you said. Legacy is what you will be remembered for, that you did for Kenyans. Like today, there are 5 presidents. Kibaki will always be number 1. Why? He did something. It doesn't mean that his regime wasn't corrupt. They were corrupt people.
In fact, probably one of the most corrupt we've ever seen.
But they were smart. At least they make sure they raise the cake, and then they started eating some, and then they gave Kenyans some. These ones, they are collecting everything. So we want to tell the president, please, as long as you're coming to television and telling us you're going to defy court orders, hakuna kitu tatuambia. Kenya can live without Ruto.
That's where you draw the line.
Yes.
Okay. Abdullahi, thank you very much for joining us. Abdullahi Alas has been our guest this hour. He is the CEO of Elite Crew Consulting Limited. Keep it here for more conversations coming up in the next hour. Remember, Valentine's Day is coming, and we're telling you
it's the Elegance in Love concert that's taking place. Actually, the dinner is taking place on the 14th. Come down to the Sarit Centre, Burgundy and Gold. Tickets are available on ticketsasat.com, and you can buy them and come and enjoy an evening. Love, laughter, and a great time.
Indeed. Good morning. It's 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. A prison constable died by suicide inside her rented house in Tumaini Estate, Kitale, according to police report. Linda Machuman Wafula's body was discovered after neighbors reported a foul odor coming from her house. According to a police report, Wafula was last seen on February 1st at her home before her body was discovered. Now, the owner of an 8-acre piece of land in Loresho is accusing former Nairobi Provincial Commissioner Davis Nathan Chelogoi of defying court orders in continuing to illegally occupy the parcel of land. Chelogoi is accused of frustrating businessman Ashok Kumar Rupshi despite a High Court judgment and several court orders that ordered the former PC to surrender the property to Ashok, who the court ruled is the genuine owner of the land. The protracted land battle dates back to 2019 with the High Court case number 312 of 2009 between Ashok Kumar Rupshi, Hiten Kumar and late Jacob Juma. Now, a 47-year-old man from Monganga, Miambani in Kitui County died while receiving treatment for machete cuts he sustained during a suspected land tussle. According to the area chief Muthoka Kilonzo, the man was being treated at the Kitui Level 4 hospital where he was rushed by his family members. The 3 suspects were arrested as a probe into the circumstances of the attack got underway. On a side note, and the family of renowned Kenyan actor Charles Oda, better known as Charlie, announced his death at the age of 38. Now, the family issued a joint statement with Charlie's fiancée, journalist Shiru Murioki, asking Kenyans to respect their privacy as they mourn their loss. According to reports, Charlie, a beloved son, brother and friend, died Saturday night, that is February 3rd. Our thoughts and prayers goes to the family and friends. Now, National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula has urged President William Ruto to continue with his affordable housing plans and ignore his critiques. Speaking in Kakamega County, the Speaker urged President Ruto to push forward as all developed countries in the world have made such hard decisions. He told the President to ignore concerns that his approach to construct houses using funds from the housing levy is wrong. Wetangula referred to Azimio leader Raila Odinga's statement pronouncements that he was not opposed to the affordable housing project but its execution. Raila added that the project was not new, claiming to be one of the leaders who crafted it during his time in the cabinet. And Prime Cabinet Secretary and Foreign Affairs C.S. Musalia Mudavadi has hit out at opposition leader Raila Odinga over claims that President William Ruto intends to install former IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati as the Chief Justice. Speaking during a church service in Kakamega attended by Ruto, Mudavadi said anyone, as long as they are qualified, has the right to vie for any position in Kenya. He went on to say that even Chebukati himself can become Chief Justice of Kenya if he meets the threshold. His sentiments come a day after Azimio leader Raila Odinga alleged plans to have Chebukati appointed as Court of Appeal judge before being fronted as CJ ahead of the 2027 general election. And police in Baringa County arrested a 38-year-old pastor of AIC Kipkure's church who is accused of defiling and impregnating a 15-year-old Form 2 girl in Kapchakor sub-location, Baringa North. The pastor is said to have also facilitated the procurement of an abortion procedure which led to the girl developing health complications. According to police, the pastor visited the family on December 24th to give them food donations. It is alleged that he then told them that he wanted to visit another family, which he did not know the direction to the home. He then requested the grandmother rather, to allow the girl show him the direction. It is alleged that he defiled her thereafter. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
All right, a few minutes after 8 o'clock, traffic still continues coming in heavy off the Thika Superhighway today, and it looks like it's going to be like this for some time past that GSU junction, coming in heavy from Githurai, and traffic is moving very slowly. It's at a hold-up spot all the way from beyond that through to the city centre, and it looks like it's going to go even further to the city today, and it's bumper to another bumper. It's also heavy on Kiambu Road as well as on Limuru Road this morning. It's coming in heavy from Westlands, also on Lower Kabete, all the way from Preps, and we're looking at it coming in heavy from Farasi Road, so that is heavy traffic through to Westlands. It's also heavy on Raila Odinga Way, coming in from James Gishoro, also looking at traffic coming in from Zima Springs and in from Lavington. It's that Monday, and it looks like it'll get busier, so let's talk on Spice FM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
How are you doing? Welcome to the third of Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. Thank you very much for choosing us as the way to start your day. We are live on KTN Home, on Spice FM, on YouTube, and on Facebook. And on this next conversation, we want to talk about Kenya-Germany cooperation on climate change. We're joined by the Ambassador of the Federal Republic of Germany to Kenya, His Excellency Sebastian Groth. Good morning.
Good morning.
Karibu sana katika kipindi chetu cha leo. Habari za leo?
Nzuri sana, asante, ninafurahi sana.
Good to have you here, Ambassador. We're talking about very many things about Kenya and Germany and the cooperation. But first of all, I want to tell you, I'm sure you visited several parts of the country.
Yes.
Which part of the country haven't you visited so far?
Wow. I was only once in Kisumu, not the direction of Kakamega and the Ugandan border. I would like to see this, Mount Elgon. I've also only crossed Shimba Hills, but I also want to visit it. There are so many things still to do. 20 years ago, I did the Mount Longonot. I want to do it again, of course. I've been to Lake Turkana recently, which was a fantastic experience, but I think also all the other lakes would be great to visit.
Very good. As you've seen across the country, we are a rich country. Rich in resources, rich in everything. One of those resources is water. And Keringet is a water bottling company in the country, and it's a brand, and they are telling everybody to own our richness. Because Keringet, the water, is brought from the rocks under. All right? And then it is filtered through the Kenyan rock. And then it comes out at the Kenyan fountains and it is bottled at source. And we say when you drink this water, you are basically consuming the richness that is Kenya. All the minerals, naturally infused into the water. It's natural mineral water. It's carrying it. So next time you go back to the office, tell them, guys, the water I want here is carrying it. I want to consume the richness that is Kenya. Okay? Aya, we are going to welcome you to the conversation, and CT Muga will give you the day's proverb. Every week, CT goes to one African country, and then he mines proverbs from that country. He brings us a proverb from that country, one proverb per day. He is supported by EcoBank. It's a Pan-African bank. Ndu?
EcoBank channels the know-how of how Pan-African people operate and be able to deliver better ways for all clients across the financial services arena in the ways in which they desire for developing superior customer experience as well as a more relevant and innovative solution. It's a better way. It's a better Africa. And that means supporting or sponsoring the ongoing Africa Cup of Nations. EcoBank is proud to be an official sponsor of the Total Energies CAF Africa Cup of Nations, currently going on in Cote d'Ivoire, also as the sole banking sponsor. Now, imagine that all countries, 35 of them, with an EcoBank branch, at least in every one of them, coming together to support a sporting event where African nations come together to compete. It's a better Africa. It's a better you. It's a better me.
Very good. City?
Yes.
Where are we this week with the proverbs?
We are in the country of Namibia, and for a very specific reason. They lost their leader. The president passed away yesterday.
Yeah.
Now, the relationship that Kenya has with Namibia is very long-standing. From the time when the UN contingent that was led by General Opande went to that country leading to their independence, and over the years this is the third president, by the way, from Sam Nujoma, Pohamba, and then this gentleman called Geingob, all members of SWAPO. Now, they are remembered for having supported Kenya, specifically former President Uhuru and now current President Ruto during the ICC trials. They were very, very key supporters of this too. I'm simply saying that even after the UN mandate had ended, the Kenyan contingent in Namibia remained for 9 months. And General Opande was given one of the highest award you can give anyone in that country, the Order of the Rising Sun, for the services that the Kenyan military provided for the military forces in Namibia. They were establishing their own military force then. So we remember this great man. So it's in his memory that we have proverbs from Namibia for the whole of this week.
Okay.
A hunter in pursuit of an elephant does not stop to throw stones at birds.
A hunter in pursuit of an elephant does not stop to throw stones at birds. Ambassador Groth, what's your interpretation of this?
Well, throwing stones at birds is not my style. But I think the sense of it is just that you have a big task ahead of you and don't lose sight of your smaller tasks to accomplish them also. That would be my interpretation. I don't know if you go along with that.
Oh, your interpretation is perfect.
Makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
It makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about the cooperation that Kenya and Germany have on climate change. On matters climate change, you know that Kenya is at the forefront in leading these conversations. Our president chairs the AU Committee on Climate Change. We have hosted the inaugural African Climate Summit. We participated in the COPs, and we're also definitely going to participate in this year's COP29. But what's the cooperation between the two countries on this matter?
Well, first of all, it is really a long-standing cooperation. I think Kenya started the geothermal production in Olkaria in 81, and basically since 81, Germany is one of the key partners there in this regard. We are doing a broad portfolio of cooperation. So basically, we have 3 pillars that we work on. Beyond also climate change. It's agriculture, it's youth, TVET and employment, and climate change and energy. And I would say that this climate change energy portfolio is really now the signature cooperation between our two countries. So it's a lot about still production of renewable energy. We very much appreciate the Kenyan ambition to go to 100% renewables by 2030. You are at 93, 94, which is already quite impressive. But it's also about the grid, about the stability of the grid and the infrastructure. It's about technological cooperation. And there's another subject that is coming up. It's about green hydrogen. So ways and means to produce green hydrogen out of water, basically, and to use it either for industrial production or for the production of green fertilizer.
When you say cooperation, what exactly do you mean? Is it aid given to the country? Is it loans given to the country? Is it technical expertise?
It's everything. It's
things that you've sold to the country?
No, so we have two branches basically. One is the financial cooperation with our development bank called KfW. So they're giving grants and loans. And then it's the technical cooperation by GIZ, where we really help with feasibility studies, with engineer concepts, with technology, from small to big. So to give you one example, in Kalobey near Kakuma, GIZ installed a 540 kilowatt solar panel station, which is enough for 20,000 households and about 200 to 300 SMEs. But we are also doing very sort of bigger infrastructure things like the financing of distribution hubs for high voltage electricity coming from Ethiopia. But that's a very broad portfolio.
Okay.
Sorry.
All of these conversations, whether we look at them from a bilateral point of view between nations, Germany, Kenya, Germany, are there any other country, Kenya and any other country, are all part of a larger conversation, and we usually see the culmination of that in summits, such as the one that took place in Nairobi last year, and the one that takes place every year, the Conference of Parties. We're getting towards 29 this year. But then we've just come off of 28, and there were certain things that were said and or done that would then design the route that a lot of these conversations and implementations would take. When we've come out of that, what are some of the general things that we're hoping we will actually see done before the world gets together again at the end of this year to discuss these things?
Well, I think one of the big achievements of last year's COP was the creation of the Loss and Damage Fund. That was a very big item for the German agenda, and on the very first day of the conference, together with the UAE, we put in some seed money in order to make this funding operational. Now we are between 700 and 800 million euros or dollars in this fund. So you see it's really up and running. The second thing that was quite important this time was the declaration that stated a phasing out of fossil fuels, which was not so much expected, also given the place where the conference took place, UAE, which is one of the biggest producers, of course, of fossil fuels, even if they are progressively transitioning also. But it was a very tough discussion, and I don't know if you remember when the first draft of the declaration came out, there was a lot of resistance, a lot of coalition building also, and again Europe and Africa played a very, very important role also in pressing some of the other participants in being, let's say, more flexible on this point. And the third one is, and I think this is very significant for all of us, that there was a decision to triple the renewables on the baseline of 2019 up to 2035, I think, and to double the energy efficiency. And I think this will give a very, very big push globally to the installment of renewable capacity. And I think we are already seeing a very, very big dynamics in this field, because also the money and the capital will now move from fossil fuel more and more into renewable technologies.
Why was there resistance? And I think it's important here because that was one of the things. It was a major thing. The world looked at it and said, okay, why is this conversation being had here? There was resistance, but there was also outright refusal by some to actually go with this move. Why is it so sensitive? Because it does form a lot of the climate conversations that we will have now and in the future.
True. No, I think there are a number of countries that base their prosperity and the economic development on the extraction of fossil fuels.
Mhm.
And I think it's natural for them to defend this competitive advantage in a certain way, and to also signal. I mean, it is a very strong market signal. I would see it very economically. As if you write this on paper, the world, the banking world, the finance world now will shift more and more capital out of this sector because it is clear that it's not giving a return on investment any longer because the world will move out of it sooner or later. And I think it's very natural that if you have an economy that is based on these resources, that you try to want to defend this in a certain way, or even at least build the path as long as possible towards a transition.
You know, when you look at the history of energy on the planet over time, I find it very, very difficult to believe that we're going to get to a point where fossil fuels don't feature absolutely. Because the discussions that we keep having seems to be discussions on both on extremes. Do away with it. There are those who talk about taking a middle ground approach to this whole thing, but that voice isn't very loud. The loud voice is, let's replace it completely. Now, if we were to take the view that, let's say, where we had the last COP meeting, UAE, well, they have solar in abundance. There's no question about that. But are we saying that the technology around solar has advanced to the point where now it can actually replace and do everything that's fossil fuels or power driven by fossil fuels has been able to do? Have we gotten to that point yet?
Well, not tomorrow, certainly, but I think what we are trying to manage is the transition. And this is why the wording and the declaration is so important, because it somehow frames the expectations of all the stakeholders in the sector and all the financial actors also. And if you look to the cost effectiveness of solar power, it decreased sharply. So it is now, even in Germany, where we don't have as much sun as you have here in Kenya or in Africa in general, it is about between 8 to 11 cents per kilowatt hour, whereas coal and others go between 18 and 20. So it is already much cheaper than the fossil option. There are two more things I think we have to consider here. First, fossil fuels or petrol is not only used for energy production, but it's also a very, very important ingredient for chemical production. And secondly, we use it in industry. And that's why this transition towards green hydrogen is so important for Germany, because we know that we need a lot of high input energy for our industrial sector, but we want to do it in a proper way and not in the old fossil way. And that's why the government took the strategic decision to create a green hydrogen sector in Germany, in Europe, but also to look for partners worldwide. This is North Africa. You talked about Namibia. Namibia is one of the key partners in this regard, but also Kenya can be a key partner in this regard, because we want to try to create a global supply and demand structure for green hydrogen in the next 5 to 10 years.
What is hydrogen going to be used for? Why is it so important?
It is important for a number of productions that need a high intensity energy, like steel, like cement, like glass, but also for transportation, for lorries and for ships. So there is the assumption that the big container ships will move towards green hydrogen machinery. So there will be a transition phase from diesel to methanol, but then in 5 to 10 years it will all move towards hydrogen, because it's the cleanest way as a high energy input factor. And by the way, Kenya can or could play a very important role in this regard, because you have the port of Mombasa. And the assumption amongst experts and analysts is that you need a sort of global network of green hydrogen petrol stations, basically, in ports all over the world. And one of this could be Mombasa. So if you act fast and decisively, I think Kenya could have a very, very competitive advantage in this regard.
All these conversations about the transition from fossil into new forms of energy, renewable energy, means a lot of R&D. So for research to take place, then you need to have the capacity to basically support that research, to fund that research, to even energize that research. And this is where then you find that the developed world is far ahead of the developing world in their capacity to conduct the research, to adopt the research, to own the patent for the new developed research that goes on. Now, isn't that an imbalance? When we see that the developed world is saying, let's push towards the end of consumption of fossil fuels, let us discourage the developing world and other countries from heavy adaptation of fossil fuels, and let's support them in going green. But even as you do that, the technology would not be sufficient to support an economy to develop if you just say go green and don't use fossil fuel. So what I'm asking is, does that not paint an imbalance between the developed world that's already developed, that's still using a lot of fossil fuel, that is preaching to the underdeveloped world to stop using fossil fuel, to discourage itself from using fossil fuel, while at the same time it has ambitions of developing?
No, I think this is a very important question. And the first point would be that this transition should not hinder economic growth, and it's not up to the developed world to tell the developing world or emerging economies sort of what to do and what not to do, or to reduce the speed of the economic development. This would never work. We can only prove that it's a good concept if we ourselves develop economically and get clean at the same time. I think the big advantage for countries like Kenya and probably Africa in general is this concept of leapfrogging. You don't have to do the mistakes that we did for 80 or 120 years. We see this in the mobile sector, for example, but we see it also in other sectors. So this idea especially of green hydrogen as the high impact, high efficient energy input for industrialization can work even better here in Kenya, because you can build up the industry at the same time when you build up the green hydrogen sector. So I think it is more an advantage than a disadvantage. And the question about research and development, I would not be so pessimistic. I've been in this country also 22 years ago, and from 2001 to 2004. And I see a very big difference now in the cooperation between our two countries, but also between other countries of the so-called North with Kenya in research and development. I give you two examples. One is an impressive young lady who is doing research on green hydrogen and copper, and she received a machinery, a sort of microwave machinery to analyze the copper, the characteristics of copper when you alter the temperatures, and she's a top specialist in this field. And then there's another cooperation between an Italian university and the University of Machakos. They are doing research on satellites and solar systems to cool satellites. Never would I have imagined 25 years ago that these sorts of scientific cooperations would one time happen. I think this is showing the way, and you shouldn't underestimate the capacity also of your people here and your university. So I think the benefit is in cooperation and not in separation or domination, but really in cooperation, and that's what we are striving for.
You see, why there may be a little hesitation when we talk of cooperation is the lived experience of this continent, where cooperation has often meant veiled domination. The conversation is cooperation, but somewhere along the line you'll be shortchanged. Now, if I look at this conversation of energy, I actually find it absolutely fascinating, because most of what is discussed I actually don't understand. That's why it's fascinating. But I look at solar. We have it in abundance. Most people here in this conversation think the solar discussion began yesterday. This thing has been there for decades. We have been told by experts in the field that one of the biggest problems with the wind and probably solar is storage. How do you harness it so that when the sun isn't shining, we have stored 1 week's worth of energy somewhere? So whether it shines or not, it doesn't really matter. We'll have that particular energy. Or whatever we produce by wind, a similar process. Now, there are companies like Tesla who keep coming up with all sorts of things that they're doing. Germany has companies that... But again, is this technology advanced enough to the point where countries on this continent, let's say sub-Saharan Africa, who have more solar that they know what to do with, could actually use this power? Because this is power that will propel the things that we want to do to a completely different, because this is the resource we have in plenty. Has technology reached that level?
I'm sure it will advance. I talked about this 540 kilowatt thing in Carlo Bay.
Yes.
And the engineers told me that if you have a total capacity of 540, you have a battery capacity 2 to 3 times as big. That means you have lithium batteries that can store 1,000 kilowatt to 1,500 kilowatts. So that means that you can bridge a night always, and even 1 or 2 more, let's say, bad days, or where you have technical complications and stuff. But this was absolutely feasible. So, and you can produce with this decentralized installation as much energy as you need for 20,000 households and 200 SMEs. I found this quite fascinating, because the sun in Turkana is so strong.
It's oppressive.
It shouldn't be a problem, to build just hundreds of these solar islands and help a lot of villages to develop and a lot of SMEs. There is a point of grid stability that you have to address. If you do it in a decentralized way, you need a very, very robust grid, and you need also shadow capacities. That means you have to have some base load production in the net that is constantly running in order to stabilize it. That's why I think we will go for a mix sooner or later, and that's also why probably technology like carbon storage will play a role. That means you take out the carbon out of the energy production and pump it into the soil. Experts say it is feasible. It is also not detrimental to the environment, but this is also an idea that is discussed now in Europe more and more, because we will have productions in our economies where you just have emissions. It's just not avoidable. So, but what do you do then with these emissions?
Yeah.
And the idea is the CCS. But this is not a concept for tomorrow, but I know that engineers are working on this.
Let's take a break. 28 minutes to 9. Our guest this morning is the Ambassador Sebastian Groth, German Ambassador to Kenya. We are talking about the German-Kenya cooperation on matters of climate change. Ndu, as we take this break, Valentine's Day is coming.
Yes, it is.
And there is ticketsasa.com.
Yes, there is.
And that is a website
where you can purchase tickets.
Where you can purchase tickets.
Yes.
Tell us how to finya the computer.
So you do the computer, and dollars will come out. In this case, a ticket will come out, and what you need to get is decide. Do you want to spend 3,000 shillings? If you do, you will get a regular single ticket. If you want to spend 5,500, you will then get a regular couples ticket. Now, should you decide you want to spend 10,000 shillings, you will get a VIP couples ticket. What this allows you to do is attend the Elegance in Love Valentine's dinner at the Sarit Your City on the 14th of February. It's a night of dancing, music, food, total enjoyment, and we need you to come dressed in burgundy and gold. If you do not know what burgundy is, our color palette CT Muga can assist you. Burgundy, gold, this is what you will need to wear on that day. Go to ticketsasa.com, purchase your tickets, then come out and enjoy a night of love. Why not?
There's a welcoming drink, there's a 3-course meal, there's entertainment, there's a lot that's going to happen.
There's a lot that's going to happen. Food, music, dancing, and of course the ingredient you cannot forget, love.
And if you want to propose on that day, talk to us behind the tent.
You get a special discount.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Patrick Lodge, Otieno Lumumba. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
CT Muga.
CT Lodge.
Muga, not Muga.
He is here and here's the day's proverb.
One man marries a woman, another man marries troubles.
Is he the same man?
Spice.
A lion cannot eat more than 2 donkeys. It would die a natural death because there is no ICU in the forest. In Kenya, it has become the situation that you cannot conduct 2 elections. In fact,
with the same
Bukati,
IEBC.
You can't.
I told you about this Indian friend of mine who was enjoying other Indians in the group. He wrote the word valve and told them, read it.
So how did he say it? I really want to know.
The valve. Because kina Edna, it's the, like you've said, the B's and the P's. Kila kitu mkisia akisema atasema opposite.
Opposite?
Ukisema hii anasema opposite. Opposite. Ukisikiliza namna hii unasikia opposite.
The Situation Room, Spice, the only way to start your day.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning. It's 18 degrees. We'll see highs of 25 and highs of 26 in a mostly sunny Nakuru at 19. It's 17 and sunny in Nyeri with highs of 25, and we'll see highs of 25 in a cloudy Eldoret at 18. Looking into a sunny Mombasa at 28, we'll see highs of 33, while Malindi will go to highs of 33. It's currently sunny at 28. Kisumu is cloudy at 23 with highs of 29, while Kakamega is cloudy at 21 with highs of 30. It's partly sunny at 20 in Kampala with highs of 28, while Dar es Salaam is sunny at 29. We'll see highs of 33. Johannesburg is sunny at 18 with highs of 29, while Mogadishu at 28 is cloudy, going to highs of 33. It's sunny at 16 in Addis Ababa with highs of 24, and a hazy Lagos morning at 22 with highs of 35. It's 25 and cloudy in Kinshasa. We'll see highs of 31 and lows of 24.
Some very nice, mature music.
It really took me back to my days, and I can just feel young again and enjoy the vibe.
In the middle of Lamington, going out towards Mzima Springs and then touching on James Gishuru, heading over the drift, heavy traffic. It's crossed over Wayaki Way and it's inching into the Red Hill Link Road, and that takes you out towards Kuna Road and then crosses over towards Lower Kabete. There's a lot of traffic here, and it's holding up as you go in that direction. We're also seeing traffic then heading down Wayaki Way. Quite some of that. Ring Road Western is also jam-packed. It's a busy morning. We're also looking at traffic then coming in from the Thika Superhighway, which has been heavy all morning, and that still continues. Something amiss this morning. Let us know just in case you do see that. Limuru Road, usual, as well as Kiambu Road, to be understood. Let's know what's going on in your neck of the woods today. Let's talk on SpiceFM. KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. On right, 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Our conversation continues with the German ambassador to Kenya, His Excellency Sebastian Groth, on the German-Kenya cooperation on matters of climate change. The big issue that's going on now, the buzzword in the country and around the globe, is carbon trading. And everybody's talking about this. And then there are those who say this carbon trading story is just a way for the polluters to continue polluting, and then they pay a pittance because they come in and decide how much they're going to pay in the open market. It's an open market, so you come and bid. So you'll basically determine how much you want to pay for the sins that you've committed. And for that, the developing world is required to not do much to the environment. Just keep the trees growing. Don't cut down the trees. Don't go into fossil fuel production. All right? We will pay you so that you remain where you are. What do you say to that?
Well, I think the general idea is good because it's a system of price incentives, and we are experimenting with it in Europe and Germany for quite a while. So we have a CO2 trade. It's like a stock exchange. 1 ton has a certain price. You get a certain amount. If you have a production site, let's say for glass or cement, you get a certain amount. And if you use more, you have to buy them on the market. If you use less, you can sell them on the market. And it's working quite well, and we will extend it also to new sectors like heating and like mobility, which was not the case before. What you are talking about now is also not so new. It was labeled the clean development mechanism, meaning that as a company, I can help a community in Kenya or in Congo or whatsoever to reforest and get credits then from this investment that I can use for my own production in Europe. I think the main point in this is that it doesn't get a scam, that it's really transparent, non-corrupt, and that it's also benefiting to the communities. And there are some interesting reports out now where you can see it did not always happen in a very, very good way. So in Zimbabwe there was a scandal, and in other countries also where you feel that the control mechanisms did not work properly, and that's a lot of greenwashing also involved. And this is what has to be involved. But I think the general idea is good. It's all about implementation.
Do you think that there's a general complete understanding of these processes? There would appear as though there are suggestions that are made to folks who would be involved in the process who really don't have a complete comprehension of what it means. And that's where then you will find that situation that you talk about, because isn't that what happens in a scam? That there's one party that fully understands what's happening, there's another party who maybe partially understands, and then there's some money that floats around. So from where I see it, if we're going to talk about accountability and transparency in this climate conversation, whether we're talking about fossil fuels or we're talking about carbon trading, whatever it is that we're talking about, where money is going to move. And transparency for me means that everybody has to be on the same level when it comes to comprehension of these things. Whether you're a president, or whether you're a journalist, or whether you're a practitioner, or you're an expert in your field when it comes to education. That's across board. Anybody who's going to be involved in these processes, whatever they may be, must understand doctrine from beginning to end. Otherwise, it makes it very easy for the scams that you speak of to take place.
I absolutely agree, and there's a lot of work to be done by international partners, by NGOs, also by national governments here. But I think also what we have to think about is a sort of global oversight mechanism that is looking into things and avoiding these sort of scams. Because it's a lot about trust, and if you destroy this trust into a new market, it will never evolve, it will never develop. But as I really would like to repeat that the general idea of working with price incentives, I think, is a very, very good idea. And the other point is it's also important to valorize the assets that you have also on this continent in terms of biodiversity, in terms of carbon sinks, in terms of just environmental quality, and to compensate that this is conserved and retained, I think is a natural thing. So to think about this and to implement these sort of mechanisms, I think is the right way, but we have to avoid scams and this asymmetry of information.
Sure. There's also, and I mean, look, I think that this conversation will always come into play here, because here we talk about the outcomes of COP28, hoping that we go to COP29 and that we're talking about having moved a few steps. There's always been the fear that the world gathers for expensive conferences to come and talk about things that time and energy, no pun intended, could be used to actually implement some of these things. Do we run the risk of continuous speech, talking, at the expense of actual implementation of some of these things? Or are these meetings just as important to have?
Sure. You know, I was struck once when the president said, the Kenyan president, I think it was a UNEP meeting in Gigiri, and he said we have to stop with all these climate conferences. And I started thinking, probably he has a point. But on the other hand, these are very important gatherings because it is a global conversation, and we need a sort of minimal global consensus on these things. If we need really 40,000 people or 80,000 people or 90,000 people, I think that can be discussed. I think probably even 15,000 would be enough. Or 20. I don't know. I've never attended these sort of conferences, but if I read these figures, I ask myself, is it really necessary to have so many people? On the other hand, we are talking about inclusion. We are talking about representation of women, of youth, of indigenous people, of NGOs, of scientists, of activists. So if you take all these numbers and then you want them from north, south, east, and west, it's easily that you come up to higher numbers. And but I think the issue that you're raising is absolutely justified and legitimate, and we should rather try to refocus than to broaden it time and again. I think at the COP28 we were between 70 and 80,000 people, which is really a very big number.
It was a huge number.
Yeah,
many people.
It is.
Yes, many people.
Yeah. Within Germany itself, Ambassador, there appears to be very many divergent views on energy, on conservation, on climate change, and how to handle it. There are those that say, let's be radical and drastic and immediately begin cutting back on our use of fossil fuels and accelerating our adaptation of green renewables. Then there are those that say, no, let's make it step by step. Depending on who's in power, you'll have those conversations going on. What's the current conversation in the country?
I would say that the general consensus to move away from fossil and coal is still intact. Last year, for example, we had for the first time nearly 60% renewables in our energy basket. It very much depends in Germany on the wind, because we have a lot of wind production. But there is a government decision to go to 80% renewables by 2030. And to be climate neutral by 2045, meaning that we don't have a negative emissions account, so to speak. So, and this is a very ambitious goal for an industrialized economy. Germany still has 20 to 22% of its economy based on real production. So it's not a service economy like many others. And in this regard, it is even more difficult and more challenging, I think, for us than probably for other economies to go down this path. But I think that this general consensus is still intact. The real challenge, and we talked about this just a few minutes ago, is to make sure that economic and social prosperity and stability is in line with this transition path, so that you don't lose the people. And we had one very difficult discussion in Germany about our heating systems half a year ago, and that was a point in time where you saw some cracks in society and also some distancing of this agenda. But I think now we are beyond this. It was a very deep discussion, a very honest discussion also, but I think now a sort of consensus is reestablished.
What's the consensus?
As I said, the consensus is that there is no better alternative than to to do this transition. And as you say, there might be a discussion about the speed and about the radicality of this transition, but even the big economic players in Germany, and we have big chemical companies, for example, or cement or steel. They want to be in the avant-garde of producing green steel, for example. That's why we want this transition towards green hydrogen. The only thing that they are demanding from the government, and I think that's also justified from their standpoint, is a stable framework so that they can plan 5 to 10 to 15 years ahead, because that's the investment cycles for these heavy industries. And if you change the direction every 2-3 years, of course, that's not feasible for big companies, but I think insofar they have a fixed framework and an environment that they can operate within. They are all aligned with this agenda.
You know, every time one hears of this discussion, one thinks trees, vegetation. At least that's where I'm at, and I'm thinking of places like Kibwezi. I'm thinking of places in Narok that I've visited where people have actually indigenous forests, and some they are growing them. Now, how do you tie in this? Because our forest cover has gone below what our constitution requires. We're at 8.8, and yet our constitution demands 10%, which is really a small minimum. But how do we tie this to this heavy-duty technological discussion we are having? Because there seems to be a correlation somewhere. Where is it?
No, I mean, reforestation is a strong point in this regard, and it's one of the very important projects also for the president, and we are supporting it also from the German Development Corporation side. But there are other things like I learned a lot about mangroves, for example. They are so important for the ecosystem of the coast, but also absorbing CO2. They absorb 3 times more CO2 than normal trees. So that's why it is so important to support initiatives in Kwale County and in Lamu County, where we have a lot of women groups, for example, that plant mangroves. I mean, these are all small things, and we have also to be realistic about the effects, but they are so important because combining all these small things, reforestation, protection of forests in the environment, doing something for the mangroves, can all add up to a high number of CO2 absorption, which is very, very important.
Even as you say that, everybody doing small things here, or even large things, you know, reforestation, looking at the mangroves, and this is Kenya. Other countries doing all sorts of things, who eventually all come together and have a conversation every year. But in terms of mechanisms for tracking adaptation, because that's essentially what we're asking every nation to do today, make sure that you're doing a little bit of something so that it contributes to this larger pie. But who's making sure that everybody's actually doing what they've come to COP every year to say they're going to do, that is actually being done? Who's making sure France, Germany, the US? Who's making sure that Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria, who's making sure that Japan, you know, Hong Kong, is doing what they've come here to say that they're actually going to do? You talk about the global oversight, you know, but who's actually going to say, hold on a minute, who's making sure these things are actually being done year on year, you know, minute on minute, to see what, you know, progress we're actually making?
That's a very important question, and that was one of the main parts of the discussion also at COP28. We are talking about the national contributions in this regard, so the Paris commitments basically. And now there's also for the first time a definition of a mechanism how to do exactly this, how to track what governments are doing. So you submit a plan to the Secretariat, but then it is evaluated and is checked. But I think also a lot of international NGOs are doing a very, very important work. You can, for example, for each and every country, you can check it online on a site called Global Carbon Tracker. You can see how far a country like Kenya or Germany is approaching its own aims and commitments or failing. because both is possible, of course. And so it's very easy to see. But I would like to mention another thing, because we talked a lot about international cooperation, and there was one result also, or new initiative at COP28 that is quite important, where Kenya and Germany played a very important role. It's a partnership for the acceleration of renewable energies. So it's a commitment of some African countries to go towards 100% in the near future, 2030, 2040. And Kenya, Germany and Denmark, together with the IRENA, that's the Agency for Renewable Energy, which is based in Abu Dhabi also, brought together 6 or 7 African countries. So it's Zimbabwe, it's Rwanda, it's Ethiopia, it's Sierra Leone, it's Kenya and Namibia. And these countries already committed to go towards 100%. And the initiative will help to bring money to the table, to bring technology to the table, and to bring the private sector to the table. And I think that's exactly the way we have to move forward. Because you were also asking about why are we now asking the developing countries to not to develop economically? But I think that's not the right question. The question is, how can they develop economically, but in a good sense, with clean energy.
Of the 60% or so of the clean renewable energy mix in Germany, part of it, a huge proportion of it is nuclear, isn't it?
No, not at all. We are phasing out. We don't have any nuclear anymore. We shut down the last 3 nuclear plants in April last year.
Why?
Because there was government consensus after Fukushima, basically, 2011, that it was the original decision to phase out of nuclear was taken before, under a coalition between the Social Democrats and the Green Party around between 98 and 2005. Then there was a new government that put into question this decision and wanted to prolong the life cycle of the nuclear plants that we had. But then came Fukushima 2011, and then the then government said, now that shows that even in a highly industrialized country like Japan, nuclear energy seems not to be a very, very safe option. So we want to phase out. Then again, we had the Russian war against Ukraine and a very difficult situation in the energy sector in Germany. And we had still 6 nuclear plants running, 3 phased out then at the end of 2022. But then there was a very difficult discussion in the government, but there was the decision to prolong for another 3.5 months the 3 last nuclear plants that we have in order to stabilize the net. But now we don't have any nuclear production anymore.
So what power source do you use?
As I said, it's 60% renewables, it's gas and it's coal. It's lignite and the other coal.
And the renewable here, so it's mainly wind.
The renewable is mainly wind, it's onshore and offshore, and the wind will also be the main investment when we go towards the 80% by 2030. So from 60 to 80, but at the same time the electric cake the total volume of electricity production will get much bigger, because as in every advanced economy there's a tendency to electrify the economy more and more.
Yeah. So is Germany against development of nuclear power, nuclear energy?
In the discussions that we are leading, for example, in the European Union, we are positioning ourselves against it. So it's not up to us to tell other countries what to do or what not to do, but there was, for example, a discussion in the European Union if nuclear energy could be labeled as a green energy, as a sustainable energy. And there we were quite hesitant, because you have to look at the whole life cycle from the uranium production and exploration to the deposit of the garbage one day. So in the German understanding, it's still not a clean energy, even if the electricity production as such is less CO2 insensitive than with gas or with coal, of course.
You know, it's interesting, but the mix and just the debate around this, because coal is also not renewable.
True.
And yet it is used because it is available and it has to be used. Again, this balance, does it not take center stage in the discussions? How do you balance? Because, for instance, the technology that is being used in Germany, some of it may be used here, but then that's a discussion for another day.
No, I give you one reason is really the war of Russia against Ukraine, because Germany depended very much on the importation of petrol, of fuel, of coal and of gas from Russia, all above 50% of our import basket. Now it's below 10 or even below 5%. So within 2 years, we managed to transition from a highly dependent relationship based on energy with Russia to a totally diversified mix. And I think that was a big achievement, and we should not underestimate it.
It's huge.
Yeah.
That's a big one. Ambassador, we thank you very much for joining us today. And these conversations that we've had, please come again soon. We'll need to talk about a lot more other things, other areas of cooperation, for example, TVETs, and why you're supporting us in TVETs, and then the job that you want us to come and do in your country and the service industry, not on the TVET sector. It's a big one.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
It's an open invitation.
Okay.
Yes. And you will come.
Yes, I will come, that's for sure. Tutalala hivi karibuni. Asante.
Sebastian Groth is the German ambassador to Kenya. He's been our guest. Keep it here for more. It's 9 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. President William Ruto sent his condolences to Namibians following the death of the President Hage Geingob. Geingob died at Lady Pohamba Hospital in Windhoek weeks after he was diagnosed with cancer. In a post on social media platform X, Ruto condoled the late president's family for their loss while celebrating Geingob as a distinguished leader who served with diligence. In a subsequent post, First Lady Rachel Ruto praised Geingob for his dedication towards advancing Namibia and that his leadership would forever be cherished across the globe. Meanwhile, former President Uhuru Kenyatta mourned President Geingob, describing him as a great leader who contributed immensely to the liberation of Namibia. In his message of condolence to the family of the late president and the people of Namibia, former President Kenyatta said he was deeply saddened by the death of President Geingob. The former president said he was privileged to have interacted with the late president and treasures the wisdom and knowledge of a statesman shared with humility and grace. Kakamega Senator Boni Halale's employee who was killed by a bull is expected to be buried today. Kizito Moi passed away after being attacked by a bull that had been chasing him in Halale's compound will be buried after the controversy surrounding his death was resolved through an autopsy. Government Chief Pathologist Johansen Odur confirmed that Moi's injuries were consistent with claims that he was killed by a bull. Odur told the media that Kizito had injuries on his forehead, neck and the left thigh.
Looking at his injuries, they were penetrating, and they also had some features which included some bruising around them. And to look at them closely, they look like injuries which are caused by something which was penetrating but was not very sharp, was a bit blunt, which is in keeping with a horn of an animal. So from all these findings, we can conclude that indeed the initial autopsy was correct, and it was caused by an animal other than something which has stabbed the person, like what was being alleged that it was a knife or something like that.
After the report, Halwale, accompanied by family members, confirmed that Moi will be buried today after the initial plans for the funeral had been postponed.
And with this, I would like, as I pass my condolences to the family, my community, and the bullfighting fraternity, that we shall move the remains of Moi tomorrow morning in the usual manner, and we shall bury him on Monday at home back in Malinya.
Mimi nashukuru serikali kuu kukupatia mwelekeo, na tumefuata mwelekeo. Bore mwili toke ndugu yangu aende asikwe. Naomba serikali kusaidia kwa sababu ile karama ambayo yenye tulikuwa program vile tulikuwa tumeanzisha, program imechelewa, tumetumikia pesa nyingi.
Azimio Moja One Kenyako Principal Kalonzo Musyoka has implored President William Ruto to respect the rule of law in its spirit and attempts to deploy security officers to Haiti. Musyoka, who was speaking in Kajiado County, questioned the urgency by the President and the government to deploy the police, which is a clear contravention of the Constitution and disregard of court rulings. The court ruled that Kenya's National Security Council, which is led by the President, does not have the authority to deploy regular police outside the country and can only deploy military. The Wiper leader questioned why President William Ruto was undermining the independence of the judiciary by threatening to disregard court orders that dealt below his government agenda. He urged the President to respect the law.
We have first of all to begin putting Kenya together for real, and we shall say no to anybody who wants to govern this country against the rule of law and what the Constitution says. Kwa hivyo mkianza, in the next few days, we are sittings in Parliament, in the county assemblies. Remember, we have a duty to do. Country is looking for straight leaders. Sio watu wanadanganya na leo Kenya wanadanganya na wengine, the same kind of naysaying. And when you do so, as a team, as a mere team, please demonstrate decency between yourselves. Ingine mutatupiwa.
Defense Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale will today commence an official 4-day visit to the United States of America, where he will be hosted by his counterpart Lloyd Austin III. The visit follows the signing of a defense cooperation framework on September 25, 2023 in Kenya, aimed at reinforcing the strategic partnership between Kenya and the United States. The framework will be effective between 2023-2028 and shall help Kenya and the U.S. expand their cooperation in the fields of defense, technology and innovation, hence enabling the two militaries respond effectively to the ever-evolving security challenges. This is News. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It's busy on Langata Road this morning all the way through to the Wilson Airport, out towards Uhuru Highway via the Nyeri Stadium roundabouts. There's also some traffic that's heading out towards Raila Odinga Way, and that all meets at Gong Road. That's very busy. Uhuru Highway is busy through the CBD out towards Westlands. It's still quite a thing on the Thika Superhighway this morning. The service lanes helping out a little bit here and there, but there is bumper-to-bumper traffic all the way from the Outer Ring Junction, so we're going to watch out for that. If you don't have to be there, don't. Also, Limuru Road, that construction is what's slowing folks down this morning. Okay, also on Outer Ring, coming in from North Airport Road, heading towards the Eastern Bypass, some traffic there, all to watch out for. We're still in it this morning. Help out, let us know what's going on where you are. We can move people along. SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag #TheSituationRoom.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Ati, why should we own our richness?
Well,
Ati, because?
Take this view. Who else do you want to own it? It's yours. So by all means. It's yours and it's available to you. And not only is it available, it's just within your reach. Why? It's in water.
And it's
water.
yours.
And it's yours. Water. Keringet water.
Yes.
Yes.
Through our own earth.
Yes.
Coming through our own rocks.
Yes.
Coming to our own spring.
Yes.
Bottled by our own company.
At source.
To be drunk by our own people.
Yes. and others who may wish to also drink it. The benefit will still be the same.
Sindio?
Yes.
Own our richness.
Precisely. And share it with others.
Share it with others.
Yes.
That's what Keringet is telling you. When they say own your richness, that's what they mean. Mineral water with all the minerals, natural minerals infused in that water. And then Ndu.
Yes.
Why should we finya the computer on ticketsasa.com?
Because we all love to love, don't we? And this is the month of love.
Do we?
Don't we?
Okay.
Don't you get that warm, fuzzy feeling when somebody says, I love you? Yeah?
Abu Said.
I just did. And we're not talking about the kind of when it's two people in a prison cell with a teacup between them. We're talking about, genuinely. Somebody says, I love you. You feel good about it, don't you? It's in the air, and it is the month of love. We're celebrating it at the Elegance in Love cocktail dinner that takes place at Saratio City on the 14th of September. What do you need to do? You need to go to www.ticketsasa.com. And then you do what? You purchase your tickets. Which tickets will you be purchasing? The 3,000 shillings for the regular single, or the 5,500 for the regular couple, or the 10,000 shillings for the VIP couple? Whatever it is, you will enjoy a night of music, food, a welcome drink, fantastic cocktail dinner, and as well as, depending on what level you are, a bottle of something to enjoy through the evening. There'll be live performances, there'll be music. You can dance the night away, all in this cloud and bubble of love.
Where?
Cindo.
Like that.
I'm telling you.
Hey, each person gets a welcome drink. It's 3-course meal, including entertainment for the night. Right? Yeah?
Yes.
And for the VIPs, you get a complimentary bottle of wine. Complimentary bottle
of wine.
Yes? And there's going to be entertainment. There's a lot that you're going to do. There are many products. And then there's a raffle at the end of it. And some good prizes to be won. Yes?
Yes.
So this is the... Think. Where else do you want to be?
I'm telling you. And then you even get to play dress up. The colors of the day. Burgundy and gold. What more do you want?
Tumesema burgundy ni red.
Ile dark red. Dark red ile wajua.
Sawa.
Gold si ngumu.
Gold tunaweza jua.
No, gold is simple. Just very shiny.
Gold ni yellow too.
Shiny brown.
Trust you to go dump it in the bin. Hey. You see people showing up with red and yellow. It was Eric Latif told us. Eric Latif told us.
Very valid point, because now that one will have a problem.
Big time.
Guys will come with yellow and green, then you have a problem. Then you're going to think it's some political party gathering.
Bora kuna gold, then they come with yellow.
Gold. Let's stick to this one. And burgundy.
Thank you.
Burgundy.
Gold and
not maroon, burgundy.
So the people at the entrance know those two colors.
What is
one would hope?
I need an education here.
Okay.
What is this thing about these colors? I mean, it's significant.
It's themed.
Theme?
Yes.
So
what's the rationale for this theme?
Yes. Why have a theme?
Why burgundy? Why not yellow? Why not
because
pink?
They've chosen
Why not
it.
red?
Because they've chosen it. It's like asking somebody, if you come to a party that I've thrown and I've decided that the colors that day will be lime, green and pink, it is me who has chosen the colors.
Yeah,
and
I'll ask you why.
Why?
Because I like those colors. I like them. They're favorites.
That's an answer.
As an individual,
Whatever.
If
Another one
person
could have
decides
an
to say
answer.
that.
Another could have a different answer. The significance of green.
Or the significance of burgundy is that usually
when
when you celebrate love, you celebrate with wine. And one of the most famous wines is actually a burgundy wine. And we want to match with them. It could be anything, Eric, really. And so it falls along those lines. Is that
I do not want the anything. It could be anything. You guys just tell me someone just sat down and they did picky pong, yellow, burgundy. Why did they think of burgundy?
Good grief.
Look,
ticketsasa.com.
So I'm spending money to get a burgundy dress and then spend money
I hope you will not
buy
buy a dress, but you're going to show up at Saratio City.
You have to buy a dress. Oh,
you have to buy the dress for the other person to wear. Thank God. You need to do it.
A boy child.
God in heaven.
Anyway, City. Remind us the day's proverb.
Yes. Our proverbs for the whole of this week come from the country, the Republic of Namibia.
Right.
A hunter in pursuit of an elephant does not stop to throw stones at birds.
Okay. What's your interpretation of it?
Simple. Stop getting distracted. You have a big prize ahead of you. Focus on it. Okay? Don't stop getting involved in...
Focus on the task ahead.
Yes, stop focusing on entertainment.
All pun intended.
Yes, all pun intended. Pun most definitely intended. Yes.
It's an elephant. Focus on the task.
Focus on the task.
Ahead of you.
Yes, task as in... Yes. And this thing of looking at the bird... First of all, what business do you have looking at... Elephant is big enough. Can't you focus on that one? You have to look for birds.
Oh, the elephant is not focusing on the tusk. Buana.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Someone is awake.
Kumekucha.
Yes. Focus.
Yeah, Buana.
I'm listening to you.
But you know...
Your own interpretation.
Even as you ask the question, Eric, let me just say this. I can understand why you'd want to throw stones at birds. You know why? When the task ahead of you is really big, if it's an enormous task, it can be daunting. If it's daunting, your mind is likely to wander to other distractions. Yes. It's like you want a hiatus, you want a little breather from this task that may even threaten to overwhelm you. So you involve yourself in other side shows to avoid this big thing that is before you. There's that little thing.
This is just you trying to run away from what you should be doing.
Yes. Say, did you see how that bird flew next to me? Yes.
Yeah, I guess that's it, isn't it? Focus on the thing ahead of you. Don't let those little distractions sway your attention.
And they might be pleasant.
It might be nice to look at, shiny and such, but hey, focus.
Okay. There's a story in the papers today that I just want to read a bit. See, we've been talking about independence of the judiciary and observing court orders, and the reason why it's very, very important. ODM leader Raila Odinga has rejected the decision by the High Court ordering the IEBC selection panel to promptly recruit commissioners. Speaking yesterday at Kamukunji grounds in Nairobi, where ODM held a delegates meeting and later a membership recruitment drive, the ODM leader said the issue of selecting new commissioners can only be discussed once the dialogue committee report is passed in Parliament. He said, I heard the other day that the court decided to have the IEBC selection panel to continue its work. That is nonsense. That panel cannot continue doing its work because it was disbanded by Parliament. It's only when the NADCO report is passed in Parliament that we'll go back to the issue of IEBC. He voiced criticism against CJ Martha Koome's recent meeting with Ruto at State House, asserting that it compromises the independence of the judiciary. The other day, Ruto, said he will go forward with his plans despite the decision of the courts. He invited the CJ to the State House so that they could have discussions. I advised her not to go to the State House because she would end up being captured. She went from there. She says she was given funds to employ new judges. Budgets are not made in State House. So here is Raila saying on the one hand that Ruto should obey court and stop saying he'll go ahead with his plans despite the decision of the courts. Here is Raila on the same hand, not a different hand, saying this thing that by the court is nonsense, and that this order by the court that the IEBC selection panel should come back and complete its job and appoint new commissioners cannot happen. Not in this world. Nothing like that. In fact, if that's the way to go, we are ready to go back to the streets.
Yeah. So, can we do some chronology? I want to understand.
Chronology away.
Okay. This was one of the contentious issues that brought about, or rather that contributed to Mandamano, wasn't it? Last year, we saw the height of Mandamano. It was around July last year. And the cost of living, it was said, was, included there.
It was number one.
It was number one. Whether or not we saw that really take center stage during the dialogue talks, that's a totally different kettle of fish. However, it was on the list.
Yeah.
Now, the The hiring, the institution of IEBC commissioners also then was there, because there was the talk of you can't hire, and this was the crux, that
Ruto wants to have his
you
people.
can't have you as the executive decide who's going to be an IEBC commissioner, because essentially one of two things will happen. You're either rewarding those who have done something for you, or you are then incentivizing those who could do something for you. This is all alleged, of course, but then that's the speculation that comes about. So what they said is that we need to have a concert of parties here. Everybody needs to come and agree on how we're going to bring these individuals. Political parties must be involved. You must have an element of, legal fraternity there. You must have religious groups and organizations all coming together to decide who these individuals will be. It cannot be you, a sole contributor, or deciding as the majority who these IEBC commissioners are going to be. Sindio, that's where the issue came about. It was supposed to be discussed somehow during the dialogue talks. Everybody talked about everything. They never decided on those things. It had gone what? It had already gone to court. Now, certain things have been waiting, kind of just holding on and waiting, like in the matatu when you're holding on to the rail before, so that you don't fall off the thing because you've not gotten a seat. Yes?
Yeah.
And there are certain by-elections that should have taken place because, unfortunately, the person who sat in that position had passed. In order to conduct an election in this country, you need the institution of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission to oversee an election. The other one was previously what? Disbanded because of 1, 2, 3. And they had seen out their term. Okay? Now, in order for these things to happen, you need to have a functioning IEBC in place.
Yeah.
That is not the case. So, the court steps in last week and says, you know what? We are wasting time.
There's a constitutional process.
We have a process, and we have outlived the days.
Yeah.
We have gone way beyond the time that has been allowed by the Constitution to have some of these things done.
Yeah.
So in order to have them done, we need an IEBC. We need those things done. Do what? Get your commissioners in place and do it forthwith. They've now come back and said, no, we were supposed to discuss these issues during national dialogue. We skirted and did monkey business around them. We never discussed them. So, in as much as you're talking about the law, where are you and your law? Sit over there.
This law is an inconvenience.
The law is like a mosquito. We don't need it right now. The question here is, there are certain processes, whether you want to bring in the political aspect or not, that need to be seen through in order, and that's what the court was doing, in my opinion, that they're not even leaning on the side of politics here. They're saying, you know what, guys, there's a threshold that we should not have crossed, and we've crossed it because we don't have an IBC in place, because you people are deciding whether you want to bring CT Muga or his cousin to be a commissioner. We don't have time for that. If the cousin is whom you want to bring him and follow the process and do it, so that these people who don't have a member of parliament, these people who don't have an MCA, they can get one. Why are we wasting time? If anything were to happen today, make it as grand as you like. If anything were to happen today that would require an election now, snap.
We can't have
presidential.
One. Can't have one.
A presidential election.
Yeah. That's as grand as it can be, no?
We cannot. The others are also grand as far as the people of our ward are concerned.
It is. There are people at
that is as close a representative as you can get.
Because they don't need to see the president, they need to see that man or woman who is going to now make the thing happen.
Yeah.
So the court was apolitical here and said, process, threshold, time. Meet those three things now.
And let's move.
Okay.
Raila said, I heard the other day the court decided to have the IEBC selection panel to continue its work. That is nonsense.
Okay. How?
Process, threshold, time.
Because we must discuss NADCO report and then we'll go back to that issue of IEBC.
You know, if you look at the circus that has represented the selection of a panel to represent the electoral body in this country, I don't think there'll ever be a time when there'll be a formula that people can agree on. They think they give the impression they agree on it until the results come out.
Yeah.
People choose the ones they want to choose. Then the results come out and suddenly they are unhappy.
Yeah.
Yet they made their choices. And it was agreed these choices are okay.
Yeah.
Then the results come out and suddenly, it's like the results of a presidential election in this country and the selection of the people who will represent, who will be part of the IEBC. These two things are very, very distinct and different. It's like one is so that we meet a certain political need that we have to feel that we have had our say. And the other one is an outcome that we are hoping that these people we've elected will help us usher in. It looks like the electorate are not involved in this process at all.
No. It is none of our business.
Yes.
It is the business of a select few.
Yes.
Privileged people who make decisions in this country. And the thing here is, okay, so there was monkey business that was conducted. In the view of Azimio, there was monkey business that was conducted by Ruto and his cronies in amending how the selection panel shall be constituted.
Yes.
Ruto and his cronies in a previous time had said there was monkey business that was done by Raila and his cronies then, Uhuru, in selecting who sits in this panel.
Yes, and keep going back. There's always someone alleging that there's monkey business. Keep going back.
Back and forth. In those earlier times when Kiraito and Orengo were senators, they sat and they co-chaired some committee that was looking at removing the monkey business so that we can have an IEBC.
Yeah, so the prime
They selected Chebukati.
They
and
agreed.
his people.
They
brought in Kina Chebukati. They brought in Chebukati and Kina Rosalina Kombe and the others.
They brought everybody.
Yes, and they agreed.
And then?
Now here we are. The point here is the constitution is clear. And those in national leadership, our national leaders seem to be telling us every single day that the constitution is this inconvenience when it's an inconvenience. When it's an inconvenience, the president will say, no, I have a mandate of the people according to section 45 of the constitution. I don't know of which country. Section 45 tells me I must build houses.
It was 25.
Yeah, it was section 25. There's no section 25.
Yeah, and they'll quote another section. And you say, you haven't done.
No section 25.
You haven't followed due process. No.
Section 32C.
Yes, which allows you to do this. And
knowing very well that you're not going to
pop out the buttressed by section 22C, God knows what.
Articles.
Yes.
But that is article, section, potato. What does it matter?
Carrots.
25, 65, 52. What's your point? See, I'm just quoting I'm telling you the constitution.
You what I'm
You see on that? That leader can wake up and say, the courts are saying what they're saying, but see, we will sort it.
Yeah, but see,
this other leader is saying the same thing.
Yep.
This other leader would come out and say and call Supreme Court Koti Bandia because he's unhappy with the decision. This other leader would still come and say, no, do not touch the judiciary. Wait. Then 2 days later, that is nonsense that the judiciary are saying.
The same judiciary?
Yeah.
Same.
That
thing which you should not touch.
You're telling us that the judiciary has told us to follow the constitution. We cannot follow the constitution until we go to parliament and discuss the NADCO report. The constitution will come later after we discuss the national dialogue report. This constitution story of yours, that is nonsense.
So it exists.
That's nonsense. Okay. What are we being told by our leaders here?
Hey, God in heaven.
What are we hearing? But then,
and for how long shall we operate like this? The constitution is this thing that
it's a vehicle that you utilize when it's convenient.
Absolutely, it's a suggestion. Like, okay, you could use it when you need. Okay, it's there. Okay, let it just be there.
But you know what I find scary? It's like they are intimating that their views are superior to the constitution.
Yep.
See, that's what I find difficult to process.
Yep.
How can you speak thus about the constitution of this country?
Yep.
I mean, in all sincerity, this constitution, our constitution.
This is what Bob Mkangi was telling us. That the constitution was this thing that we created to make sure that we check this power. Because you give this power to these people, they are most likely going to misuse and abuse this power.
Yep.
Bend it in their own way.
Yes.
Imagine with all the institutions that we have in place, we have seen it since 2010. 2010, we have a new constitution that says this is how a judge, a chief justice shall be appointed. This is how director of public prosecution shall be appointed. Mwai Kibaki decides to nominate a chief justice.
Yes.
At his selection panel for chief justice.
What
are those?
See, he's the president.
He
See, I
nominated.
know somebody.
This is within a year of promulgating the constitution.
And it is him,
Mwai Kibaki,
who oversaw that promulgation.
Nominated a chief justice and said, Al-Nashir Visram, you will be chief justice.
You can work for
Kioko
us.
Kilukumi, you can be DPP. Twende mbele. He was told, boss.
Well, excuse me.
Kuna katiba. Forget about those stories. You're like, oh, okay.
Guys, can't you guys take a joke? Come on.
This is the problem.
Uhuru comes in and he also just goes the same way. Katiba. Raila speaks. He's not been in power. He will argue. But the way he speaks, same way. The process of a constitution is just that. It's the process of the constitution. It tells you that even if he had the sword and the constitution that he was holding, he'd be talking and actually behaving the same way. This constitution.
Remember Kibaki and the county commissioners? That debate raged on.
Yeah.
By the time the story of the CS was coming in during Uhuru's era, the courts were lenient. They said, guys, look, no one is saying you can't do this. We're just saying do it like this.
Yeah.
That's all we are saying.
There's a process.
And we thought, solved. Then the court also told them, this is the number. This one. You see this number here? These are the people you must appoint. What do we see? 51. Now you're wondering, was that court presiding over jurisdiction in another country or is it in this country? Okay. And the story goes on. Now the problem with that example is going to be followed and you're going to see the similar attitude being cascaded. Recently, Nakuru, here, just down the road after Naivasha.
Yep.
There's a problem, the War Memorial Hospital.
Yep.
Court has told police, you
get out.
These people have to go back in. Court. Judge. Mara, that officer has not played games. Mara, before you know it, you goons have gone and evicted people. And you're thinking, the court has spoken on this matter. Where do goons come in to evict people who work in that hospital?
Yeah.
What is this?
How?
Now, that is what happens when leadership show a disregard for the rule of law.
And it is bad when the other person is doing it.
It's horribly terrible.
Oh my God. If it is Uhuru and Raila who are doing something, Ruto will be like, look at these people.
Can you imagine? Look at this.
How can they do this? How can they defile our constitution right in our faces? Ruto does something. Raila is, look at this man. How can? Then he's told IBC, nonsense.
Right.
Go and tell those courts that is nonsense. Let's take a break. Ndu.
Yes.
EcoBank, how many branches?
3.
How many countries?
Wait.
They're 33?
No, 35.
35
Actually,
countries.
Two have increased.
I hung at 3. It was always 35. We just made a blunder. It's actually 35.
35 countries?
Yeah.
How many in Africa?
35 in
35
Africa.
in
Then
Africa.
Google is a liar.
Plus UK, plus France, plus, was it Russia?
Dubai, China, UK.
Yes.
And France.
And France.
Yeah, and South Africa.
And France.
And employed how many people?
14,000 plus employees employed around the world, and giving an opportunity for you to transact seamlessly for a better you, for a better Africa. And that same idea is brought about by the support that's thrown behind the sponsorship of the CAF Africa Cup of Nations that's going on right now. And so imagine a situation whereby supported to do business throughout the continent and then supported in sport as well. It's a better you, it's a better we, it's a better Africa.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Across Africa, a new era has begun, connecting us with one purpose: to create and share opportunities to grow. Across our continent, across the world, we are creating a better way to a better future. A Pan-African future. Together. EcoBank. A better way. A better Africa.
When you are born from African soil, you are born rich. Rich in who you are. With a natural richness from Mother Nature herself. Just like our still mineral water, which is naturally filtered through Kenyan lands and made rich by a perfect blend of nature's minerals, giving you premium still mineral water made by the same African soil that made you. Keringet. Own your richness. Keringet, a product of the Coca-Cola Company.
Oh, finally! It's my Standard Courier delivery.
At Standard Courier, we know that your time is valuable. That's why we guarantee swift and efficient deliveries to your doorstep every time. Give us a call on 0793 599 684 or schedule your next delivery by visiting our website www.standardmedia.co.ke/courier. Trust Standard Courier service for all your courier needs. We deliver with pride.
The weather with SpiceFM.
Conditions in Nairobi currently at 20, highs of 25, and we'll see highs of 26 in a sunny Nakuru at 21. It's sunny at 19 in Nyeri. We'll see highs of 25 and highs of 25 as well in a sunny Eldoret at 19. Mombasa is sunny at 29, highs of 33, while in Malindi we'll see highs of 33, sunny conditions currently at 30. Kisumu is sunny at 24 with highs of 29, and Kakamega is cloudy at 23 with highs of 30 and lows of 16. Kampala is sunny at 21 with highs of 28, and we'll see highs of 33 Monday in a mostly sunny Dar es Salaam at 29. It's mostly sunny at 21 in Johannesburg, going to highs of 29, while Mogadishu will see highs of 33 on a mostly cloudy 29. It's 19 and sunny in Addis Ababa with highs of 24, while there's a hazy Lagos this morning at 22 with highs of 35. It's 21 and mostly sunny in Johannesburg with highs of 29, while we will see highs of 31 in a mostly cloudy Kinshasa. Quickly into Beijing, Monday afternoon is sunny at 6, and Paris is cloudy at 8 with London cloudy at 9. 2 degrees and clear in New York. Still Sunday night, coming into Monday, highs of 8 and lows of -2.
Spice up your life.
It's been a busy morning, but we're coming out of traffic hour. We still have a little bit of it left on the Thika Superhighway. It looks like it's going to carry on as we just coming in from Survey through towards the junction, going towards Wangari Maathai on one side and Murang'a Road on the other. Everywhere else seems to have settled into Monday morning. Gong Road, a little bit of traffic here and there as you try to get into the city centre. And we're also looking at traffic on Raila Odinga Way heading through towards the roundabout at the city mortuary. Apart from that, I think we'll be all right. Let's talk through the morning and through the day. SpiceFM KE on X.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Raila is unhappy with the court for directing that the IEBC be constituted forthwith, because what's happening right now is in breach of the Constitution. The Constitution is clear. When the vacancy in the office of the IEBC happens, the process of filling out that vacancy. Uhuru Kenyatta did the same games. He played the games with vacancies for many years. He knew that there were 4, and the whole question was, do we have proper quorum in the IEBC? Do we not have proper quorum? This time, it's not a question of whether we have quorum or not. It is clear we don't have, because we don't even have a single commissioner at the IEBC. So there is nobody to conduct an election anywhere. Not for an MCA, not for an MP, not for a senator, not for president, not for governor. None. And somebody went to court and said, Your Ladyship, this thing is a breach of the Constitution. It's violating people's right to representation. And her ladyship said, Madam Dande said, yes, actually, that's true. I know what you're telling me, that there's a political process that's going on, but that political process, as far as I'm concerned, is not anchored in law. There is no law that creates a NADCO. Nothing like a bill of parliament that was passed into law. Nothing like that. It is not a constitution. The constitution does not even foresee any moment when parliamentarians shall sit somewhere in Bomas plus other people and discuss IEBC. So I cannot say that we follow that because there is no law that I can use. Raila says nonsense. Nonsense. He's also criticized National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula for resorting to the Supreme Court to contest the Court of Appeal's decision on the contentious housing levy. He says, if you're a speaker and you have passed a law, then your work ends there. You can't go to court without asking the MPs. The speaker serves MPs. The speaker has no job taking the case. So on one hand, he's criticizing one person for going to court. The other hand is criticizing the court for going.
You know what? This is the thing. It's like the emperor's new clothes, because you know what? You can somebody can tell you something, but then there's something that's left for everybody to see.
Yeah.
And that it is very clear that there is personal motive or personal, I don't want to use the word motive, but there's personal interest in this for everybody, whether when it comes to the things that you're going to say about a political process. Because the thing is that it is highly political. That political parties who would assume that they have some kind of strength then are very interested in who sits at the IEBC. Because it could be you today saying that we need to check the power of the executive when they decide who sits on the IEBC. Well then, who's checking you when you say it should be this person who sits on the panel?
Yeah.
The constitution of any nation, or rather let's use it as the law that guides the operation of any nation, which is essentially what a constitution is, when it talks about how the rights of individuals are then entrenched and then practiced and then guarded over, also has a checking mechanism, because it is established that an individual who is given power needs to be checked.
Yeah.
The reason why we had such terrible wars and conflict, whether you want to look at Eastern Europe, Western Europe, Africa in certain parts, is because power went what? Unchecked.
Yep.
And because we do not want to get into a situation like that again, you bring in this guiding principle to check that power. Now, if you decide that you don't want to regard what that guiding principle says, all the more reason why we need to look at you a little bit more. Because you essentially want to shirk the responsibility that this principle has for you, and you're not interested in that. So can you pick and choose what it is that you're going to use from that guiding principle? Today you say, if we want to look at the cost of living, that guards the rights of Kenyans to have food and shelter and etc. But then you want to ignore this other side that says, well, we want to make sure also you, when you sit in that position, we want to make sure that we are curtailing, not even curtailing, but just making sure that you use this power and you use it respectfully. That should be the overarching principle here. It doesn't matter who you like, whose face doesn't look a certain way. It shouldn't matter. But we've gotten to the point that it matters so much that people are willing to disregard what the guiding light says completely. And that, for me, is very dangerous territory to walk on. It took the word of somebody behind a microphone to plunge people into war. Just because they had some kind of power that didn't need to refer to anyone or anything or anybody to ask permission for. We have people who live in countries today who will live for the rest of their lives without limbs because a conflict ensued in a country where somebody decided, I am the ultimate and I am the supremo. It doesn't matter what the book says. And we must be very careful, because if we cannot do that, if we cannot be bound by the words that are written down in a document that is going to prescribe how you reign, then there's a problem. And if you have no intent whatsoever, it doesn't matter what side you're on. It doesn't matter if you're the opposition or the executive today. If you say that this thing, well, we're going to go ahead and do it anyway, when they decide as themselves to sort it out, then we'll figure it out later, you're just as guilty. You're just as guilty as the opposition who says, well, you know what, Constitution be damned. Let them sit over there for a minute and let's figure it out.
We as the people will go to the streets.
No.
We are the sovereign, so we'll go to the streets.
We have to be very careful, and that's the premise from which I sit today. That if you bothered, how long did it take? Years to put together. If you bothered year after year, blood, sweat and tears, to say, finally, here it is. This is the way that we will operate as a sovereign state.
Yep.
Then you can come some short 12 years later and say, you know what? Well, how about we just put that on the back burner for a minute while we figure this other thing out. Then we'll come back to it.
There's a mentality, I think, in our political class, the top leaders of our politics, that, we are the ones who fought for this constitution.
It's political entitlement.
We are the ones who pushed Moi to repeal Section 2A. We didn't beg him, we pushed him to repeal it. And then from that point on, we went ahead and removed the other constitution, and we wrote this new constitution. Because we wrote it, we can write another one.
Yes, you can.
Because we wrote the 2010. We can wake up this morning and decide, you're giving somebody president last week, forget it. We can.
But even as we have that conversation, we do have countries that came up with new constitutions and had presidents which simply ignored those constitutions, didn't bring about the changes. Yes, you may have pushed Moi. He accepted. He repealed Section 2A. Okay? He accepted the 2-term limit. Accepted. There are presidents who sat, changed the constitution, and stayed.
Yep.
And continue to stay.
Shout as much as you want to shout.
Yes, but they're there and they're telling you they're following the constitution because it was altered. So, even as people chest thump and talk about what they did, I cannot leave the late president out of this conversation. He left the job. He changed he accepted the repealing of Section 2A. Those are monumental things. In the time when that was happening, if you look around this continent, what his contemporaries and peers were doing, they were dying with that job. And literally that is. So, in many ways, you have to accept. And I'm thinking, when I say you have to accept, the you here is those in leadership. That all the towing and throwing and pulling and pushing that you do very rarely produce the results you expect. I don't know why they haven't understood this yet.
Yes.
Because you do all these things and you think you're happy. You know why they're complaints? Because the results you anticipated don't pan out. So you pitch a fit. Now, when are they going to realize that these things don't quite work out the way you think?
In addition to that, I really pray for the realization where folks who get into a position of leadership for a motive opposite to actually governing the country and upholding the interests of your citizens as number one priority. When they realize that that position is not for personal or selfish gain, these other things that we're asking for will fall into place. Because you still think you can come into this position and then dictate whichever way you want it to go.
Actually, yes.
Yeah.
But you know where it begins? It begins with the dictatorial positions they have within their own parties. Because if you look at the Kenyan political landscape and the parties we've had, the so-called party leaders, they can actually dictate sincerely.
Oh, but come on, CT, they started parties because of that.
Yes.
Like today, if we are all in the Situation Room political party and Eric is our what?
The leader.
He's our supreme leader and says, hey, you people will do like this, we'll do like this. Oh, let's do primaries, let's not. Let's have an NDC, let's not. Then CT wakes up one morning and says, what the fuck is this? You know what? We are starting Muga Greenpeace tomorrow. In fact, I'm starting Muga Greenpeace. Come with me. You go with Edna. You people go, you start your own political party. On what ideology have you based it? The ideology is because I don't like what this guy is telling me. I want to start my own. Let me see how many followers I can get. Imagine you've started like that. What has been the sole point of that? You, the individual.
Yep.
It is you because you want to get to a position of power. At that point, are you thinking, oh, actually, we need to fix education. The health system is a mess. Things are amok in terms of infrastructure. No. You're not thinking that. You're thinking me. I've been slighted. I want my own. That's it.
And the people only come in to buffer what it is I want.
Yep.
Because they think,
I need them.
Yeah, you do. You need them, and they also need you because they've seen, hey, wait a minute, under Eric, actually, we were being muffled. Edna says, you know what? Maybe under this CT guy, I can actually become governor. Out. Gone. That's what we're doing. I swear that's what we're doing. We're playing Russian roulette with this thing. Put one bullet in the chamber, click. If it goes sour. If it doesn't, we try again. Kick, kick, kick until it goes.
Until we die.
Hey.
I think it's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. We are united in when Uhuru was doing these things. There was a united voice telling Uhuru, listen, the Constitution is not a proposal. It's not a suggestion. The rule of law is not a proposal. It's not a suggestion. When the court says do this, you do it. It's not a suggestion. It's not a proposal. When you wake up and you feel, you know what, I want to take this direction, this country in a certain direction, and therefore the things that will make us go in that direction is Constitution, this, and the other. So let me appoint a team of wazirs and tell them to go around the country, give them money, come back, write a report, and then we can call it. He was told, boss, you cannot do that. You can't call it popular initiative. You're not popular.
You're not popular.
You're not initiative. You are president.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
He was told that.
I just had a thought.
And he did not think about it. He did not. He probably left office. He still doesn't understand.
How dare they tell me?
See, I thought I was the president. This guy don't understand that I am the president.
Ruto comes in and he appears to want to behave in the same manner. You know what? I am the one who has been given a mandate by the people of Kenya.
Okay.
You know, I'm the one who's answerable directly to the people of Kenya. These guys are not even answerable to the people of Kenya. They are hired by some people who are JS, don't have the court tell him, it's okay, boss. You run, pick a kelele, lakini at the end of the day,
the law says
the law says this. All right? He is reminded that. And because of the position that he holds, people are able to tell him. The one person that people are not able to tell clearly and loudly is Raila. And he needs to be told that, you know, even for you, the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya is the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya.
And you are a citizen of this republic.
And you are subject to the Constitution. You are subject to the rule of law. And even takes you right above that, just the same way we place Uhuru and Ruto, and you are also not just an ordinary citizen, right?
No, you're not.
You cannot just be. You cannot be the person who wakes up today and decides, you know what, I'm tired of this thing and does this. It affects people. I was just thinking just now of a man that we interviewed here. He wrote a book, Ahmed Isaac Hassan, a former chairman of the IEBC, the first chairman of the IEBC. He was recruited in a process that was oversighted by Raila. He did a referendum as the chair of IEC. Good. Given the job as chair of IEBC. Did an election.
He was doing good at that point.
Yeah. 2013 election. And Raila did not talk about the commission. Singled out the man. And went to town with the name of this guy, and everybody has to go home. He told us here, and if you just think about what he was saying, that for a long time he sought a meeting with Raila just to ask him, what did I do wrong? When I was getting the job, I had a conversation with you. And you expressed confidence in my professionalism. Right now, what is it? And when he finally got that opportunity many years later, Raila just told him, sijali kijana yangu, it was just politics. And the guy is thinking, just politics is what you would say. I went into depression.
Yes.
I haven't even had an opportunity, the courage to speak or do things in this country. I've gone to work in Somalia. In Kenya, no. And you just say it was...
No, it was a life-changing moment for Isaac Hassan.
Yeah.
And not in the positive variety of life-changing.
Completely changed him.
Yes.
Same thing is happening to Chebukati. All right?
Yes.
So we are sitting here today and you say, you know, so Raila Juzi said Chebukati is the one who's being earmarked to be Chief Justice. So let's even say that, okay, it's true. Chebukati is earmarked to be Chief Justice. But look at the dragging of a person, an individual's name through the mud and what it's likely to be doing to him as a person. Is it the right thing to do? Is it right for Raila to stand in front of a podium and use derogatory terms to name Chebuchiath?
You know,
is it right?
If indeed
it's not.
If indeed there was something absolutely wrong with this person, you see, the reason why we have a judicial system is that when you have a complaint of a legal matter, of a legal manner, that's where you take it. And you go with the evidence and say, you know, this person, I have this against them, and this is what they have done. But if it is just thinking and feeling, again, this is where now the story and the whole subject of leadership comes in. The utterances that a leader makes, do you take into consideration the import of the words you utter and the far-reaching consequences of those words? Because there are people who will take it at face value and go along with it.
Yeah.
And what will be the consequences of it?
It's the same thing. When Ruto goes and says kuna corruption kwa hiyo judiciary, what is he telling us?
Yes.
That we should not go to seek justice in the judiciary.
That we should dismiss.
That we should dismiss the judiciary.
And everything it stands for.
What if everybody operated like that? I just had a picture in my head. What if everybody operated like that with what we're talking about now with the courts and, you know, just like that and really upholding the Constitution? Because oftentimes we talk about leaders in their position of government are the ones who are supposed to uphold the Constitution. Well, no, everybody, essentially, in a country, whether you're here as a Kenyan, you actually are supposed to uphold the Constitution when you think about the rule of law.
Yep.
So you can imagine a situation whereby you are in court for one reason or another, and the sentence is put upon you, whatever, and then you'd say, actually, you know what, Your Honor, not today.
Yeah.
In fact, that sentence,
you
suspend it for a while. I'll come back next week. We'll have a discussion about this again.
I've got things
to do, Your Honor. But
guilty.
10 years, what's the matter with you?
Guilty what? Sour, but I have work to do. Imagine.
You're busy.
Imagine if, because that is exactly what's going on right now with these pronouncements that are being made against the orders or the decisions of courts today. When they say personnel going to Haiti is unconstitutional, you say, yeah, well, whatever. We're going to send them anyway, and then you guys can figure out your thing later.
We'll play around with the law.
We'll see.
Now, and you say IEBC says court says you must institute commissioners for IEBC. Say, partner, you.
What?
So you can imagine people who are being found guilty, people who've stolen, people who just come before court and decide, actually, you know what? Not today, Your Honor. I'm busy. Or I've got to travel. How about I finish that? And then when I come back, we can come back and have a discussion. No.
Oh, Your Honor, this matter that you're talking about or that you find me guilty of, that's half the amount. And you know, the other half, I haven't quite finished processing it. Why don't you give me time to finish it? Then now you can have a real case.
Imagine.
Okay? Or bring it down to the position you're in before you even get to court.
Yeah.
You are stopped.
Yeah.
Traffic offense.
Yep.
Okay? You are clearly overspeeding or doing something crazy. And the guy tells you, you know you're overspeeding. I said, yes. There's a court where I said, look, do this. Is my car the only car on this road?
Umeshika hizo gari ngine
zote. The ones who came before me. You've seen it is me. You want to stop. Look, officer, if you have nothing to do with your life,
I do.
Me, I do. And that's why I was overspeeding. Okay?
I'm actually
going somewhere, okay?
I'm actually going somewhere.
So I'll see you.
How unpalatable would it be if everybody behaved in this manner? If everybody decided, well, you know what, I'm going to jolly well do what I please. And it cannot be that because you're in a position of leadership at whatever level that you then decide that you will not uphold the tenets of the Constitution. Because in a sacred document like that, it's everybody. And I don't think that it's one side now being held to account. I think everybody for whom this is, for whom this has come to their doorstep, owes a duty to that document which says this is how you're going to run. You do. The same way you're going to hold the citizens responsible and say, you know what, you guys, you actually have to obey the rule of law. Well, guess what? So do you. You as the president, yes, you do. It cannot be a suggestion. It cannot be a roadside declaration. It has to be that you actually follow. You're the one who should give the example to everybody else. For people to say, okay, well, this is the book, this is the mark that we are going to then be able to follow. It should not be something that you come and say, okay, yeah, well, whatever. This is what I've decided I want to do. Those things, we can think about them later. Absolutely not. And I think there's a failure in part where you're not able to show the example to people, especially when you're in a position of leadership. It cannot be.
Yeah.
It can't be.
Yeah. It should not be a suggestion.
But it can't possibly be a suggestion. I mean, and leadership is not the executive or parliament. No. Leadership is precisely that. You are in a position where you represent people, you are in leadership. And their interest comes first. Not what you think their interest is, and what you prescribe from time to time, depending on your mood, the interest is. But these examples are set on high. People in a higher position of authority and who oversee, whose role is an oversight of a much larger population, when you choose to behave in a manner that's exactly contrary to this very constitution, you are setting an example. And that example is going to be followed. And then you're going to be wondering why it is we are slowly but definitively becoming a lawless society. The example has been set.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The law should not apply just to some people.
No.
And not to others.
No.
It should apply to everybody.
Yes.
Whether you are president, whether you are citizen, it applies to you. And the way Bobby Mkangi was saying, we do not have a constitution so that, you can be waking up and looking at it and reading it. No, today I'm reading section 25.
Today I'm going to look at Article 3 is good.
Yeah, I feel like an Article 3 today.
And it says I have a responsibility
to make houses.
And to answer to the
And I'm listening to it today. Leave alone all the other 80 parts. Today, houses I built for you.
You create your own constitution and you listen to it. That is section 25 of the constitution.
Article 2A.
Stop it. I see you, man.
The Bill of Rights says that I, Bill, have a right.
You're all kinds of silly. Stop it.
Have a good day, people. See you tomorrow. It's 10 a.m.